And welcome everybody to another episode of the Morning Glow. Welcome to another episode of the Morning Glow. Got a great broadcast lineup for you this morning, as I hope and I pray that we always do. We're waiting on everybody to get in. They'll be coming in just a few minutes, but until they get here, I want to make sure that you are aware as to what we do. This is Way Out Wednesday. This is the day where you become the boss. Yeah, you're the boss. All you have to do is give us a call at 508. I'm sorry, 50. I'm doing multitasking. 508-924-3521. 508-924-3521. Give us a call, and whatever you want to talk about, we will talk about it and talk about it in its entirety right here. Good morning. We got Daniel. We got a couple of people. Christopher. We have Terrence. Good morning to each and every one of you all. I'm glad you all joined us this morning. I'm high and a happy elephant lady and porcupine proud that you are here with us today. And if you feel so inclined, you want to be a part of the conversation, give us a call. Again, 508-924-3521. 508. People say I say the number too fast. I'm going to slow it down. 508-924-3521. Give us a call. We definitely love to have your input as to what you think about what we're talking about today. One of the things I want to talk about today, there has been a research done, and a truth of the matter, they really didn't have to do a research to find out this. I already knew it, but it is what it is. They've done a research in several counties, cities, and states throughout the United States of America, and they've come to a conclusion. Excuse me. They've come to a conclusion that African American students in school system is suspended at a higher rate than everybody else. Whoa, God Almighty! How did they come up with that? They didn't know that. I'm shocked and appalled. How could that be possible? It's across the board, ladies and gentlemen. I want to say this, Nate Palmer. I want to say good morning to you and good morning to Freeman. I don't want to butcher your first name, Quamaine. I think it's Quamaine. I hope I said that right, but good morning to you as well. They're saying that in the study that they've conducted, they are saying that black students are suspended in the school system at a higher rate than everybody else. Is that shocking to you? Is that something that did they really have to do a research to find out that? Good morning, Thomas. Good to have you, Thomas. Did they really have to do a research to find that out? I've already known that. I've known that for many years. I mean, I went to school and I saw it when I was in school, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you what year I went to school. It was I graduated in 19. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's when I graduated. But even doing 19, blah, 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 that was the case. I've seen situations where some of my friends in school would do something and they would get suspended, but somebody else that didn't look like us would do something similar or absolutely the same, and we get a slap on the wrist. Don't do it no more. Now you know that's not right, and you're not supposed to be doing that. Now you're a better student than that. You are a better student than that. Don't do that. It's not good for you to do. So it's not shocking to me. I'm not surprised by it. I mean, they wanted to do their research, I guess, so they can prove their point, if you will, or whatever it is that they were trying to prove in doing the research. I already they could have came to me and asked me. I would have told them, yeah, that's what happened. Yeah, it happens all the time. And so, Jay, good morning. Jay, good morning. What is that? I guess that says what? Okay, that's a heck of a name, Trolla. And I can't read the other name, Mr. or Miss Brown. Good morning to you as well. Um, yeah, that's what they put their money into. That's what they put their time into to do this research to find out this. They blew my mind with this. I never would have figured. I never would have figured that at all. Good morning, Captain Leonard. How you doing this morning? Now, Leonard, you know you gotta hit that mute button, brother. Can't hear you. Me and Leonard been doing this thing for I don't know how many years. Leonard, come on. Leonard, we can't hear you, brother. Nope. 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 Nope.
Sometimes it take a minute. It just be delayed sometimes.
TikTok, you don't stop. And TikTok, you don't stop. Leonard,
Yeah.
we talking this morning, man. And I need to have your input on this.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what they did I was looking at the news and they said in certain states, gotta look at the news in the morning a lot of time before I come on.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying they did this big research thing, Leonard. And in their research, they found in several cities and states that black students, Leonard, are suspended at a higher rate than everybody else. Whoa, Leonard. I never would have thought it. I never would have thought such a thing. They had to do a research to find out that, man. They could have just gave me a call. I'd have told them that, man. Saved all their time, money, and effort. I would have told them that. But anyway, how do you feel about that, Leonard?
But I used that research years ago. It's just that's not new.
Exactly.
I would have to look at it because research has its own thing. Mm-hmm. If especially if you're in the field of education, mm-hmm. you keep up with that type of thing. So
if you're in the field of education, and you're absolutely right. But if you're in the field of education, you see it. I mean,
no, you don't. No, you don't. That's one thing people assume. An assumption is an assumption.
My wife has been an educator for 25 years, brother. I talk to her all the time.
But I understand what you're saying, Raheem.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not that simple.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't say something and say it enough until people believe it. You provide them the actual research on it. That's what makes it legitimate. Saying it don't make it legitimate.
I can go with that. I can go with that. But my thing is, Leonard, look at the students that's being suspended. Look, just take a fair and you're absolutely right. And what you're saying is right. But my thing is this: from where I'm saying this is look at who's suspended. Look at who's being suspended, and look at who's getting a little slap on the wrist. You're bigger than that. You're better than that. Come on, you can't do it that way. Come on. But go ahead, Leonard. You're making a good point, man. Go ahead.
I mean, I'm just saying it is what it is. It's just information. What you gonna use it for?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So when people say, but because that has been the result of research for many years now.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't seen the research. I don't know why they did the research and for what purpose they did the research. Or what was the problem that that this, that, and the other. But you don't make assumptions in educated communities. You just don't. You go do the work and find out if it's true. Because somebody say something don't make it true. So that's why people that are really interested in it for decision-making purposes, you have to present results from your findings. And then hopefully it's for some type of decision that they're trying to make.
Absolutely. And Leonard, you said something that was so powerful in this discussion right here. What are they going to do? Okay, now that they know, they've done their research, and I grant you that, man, they had to do the research just so they can have the proper evidence in this. Now that they have it, what are they going to do with it?
It really depends what they want to do with it. If they want to do it to change their disciplinary procedures, do they want? Are they doing the research to? So let's say, for instance, they had a lawsuit. And they had to prove it wasn't true. They did the research and found out it was true.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This could help school policies, all types of things. But if you just look at it, I wonder who gets suspended the most. Well, let's look and see.
Yeah.
Okay, now that we know that, maybe we can send some programs and services to find out why this is occurring. You just don't naturally assume something like that.
I understand what you're saying, and again, I'm like, good morning, Walter Scottish. Good morning, Mr. Durant. Good morning, Amarian. Good morning, ID. You got a lot, Tater. I'm sorry I can't get to each and every one of you, but definitely appreciate the fact that you're here. If you want to be a part of the conversation, please give us a call at 508-924-3521. 508-924-3521. And see, my thing is, I'm still on that thing. The research is good. They did for whatever reason they wanted to do it for. Somebody wanted to know, or lawsuit, or whatever it is. Somebody wanted to know. Now they have the evidence. So I got to go to Mr. Hicks. Mr. Hicks, what do you think they need to do with the evidence now that they found out that black students are being suspended at a higher rate?
Wow. Which they do now, they know. They always knew it, I guess. I don't know. It's almost like a lot of those committees and things they set up is give a paycheck to bureaucrats because they get paid a check while they do this stuff. They're getting paid for it. It's I don't think I think it's a game. It's again to right at a crucial time again to raise up issues for this election about the disparities. And it is disparities, but I guess I'm really studying a couple of those economists, black economists that deal with these things. I look and see I see the intent, the design behind things to create this way, and to see it without emotion. That is about a discipline thing. Again, I told you I came out. I worked as a counselor with juveniles in the system, coming out of system New Jersey. And the basic thing of the Save Up programs were really teaching them how to be disciplined and respect authority. Just to be in a classroom with the respect for authority, but they didn't have it in their home. I mean, sometimes I listen to how even my kids not growing up as they're growing up. I would listen to how some of those kids would talk to their parents, and I would always have to pull my kids and say, "Listen, I know you hang with them guys, your friend. I'm not trying to stop you, but don't you bring that here.
Yeah,
you got to respect your mother. You got to respect that."
Exactly. Now, and it's like I said earlier, man. If they took a look, honest and open and honest look at the situation, it wouldn't be. They would have a hard. They would not have a hard time in seeing who was suspended the most if they took an open and honest look. But let me go to Brother Pete. Pete, good morning, sir. How you doing this? How you doing this morning?
Good morning, DKM Radio, Morning Glow, panel, listening, audience, family. How's everyone doing this morning?
Hey, doing good. Pete, they did this research, man, and in their research, they found out that black students are suspended at a much higher rate than everybody else. Pete, my God, how did they figure out such a thing? What do you think about that, Pete? That has to blow your mind.
It's the hypocrisy of democracy. That's what I think about it. They've known that the whole time. They designed the system to be negative, affecting black males in the first place, scientifically, psychologically, by the way they apply the system of education. This is documented, so I'm not shocked at all. And then again, it's the trauma. So you want to brutalize these young people and traumatize these young people to make sure they fit into a predetermined narrative that you have for them and how they coexist and function in this said society. So it's not a shock to me at all. I'm not shocked at all that's the truth. We've known that for years. Okay, so I mean, what's the point? You've designed a system of education to produce laborers, not thinkers, not innovators, but workers. And these young people today, and for years, they've been rebelling against that system. They have hearts, minds, and spirits. They're living beings. They have the souls. They are creators. The Bible says, "Ye are gods," understanding the sense of what it means. And in the essence of their creation, they're aware of that. Whether they can articulate it or not, it's in their being, in their DNA, and they're resisting that systematic, established mindset toward them. That's what all of this is about. You're lying to me in your story of history. You're lying to me in your narrative of me. You don't want to praise and bring out the best that is relative to me is always the worst or the least or the negative that you push to these young people, and they're sick of it. They don't want to hear this mess anymore. They don't want to have this garbage pushed on them anymore. You're not challenging them. These these people have brains, thinking minds. You dumbing them down when intelligence and genius is in their DNA.
Wow.
And you're doing your best to dumb that down. So yeah, it makes good sense that you're doing it. Now you understand why we've overpopulating the penitentiary. Come on, you systematically tried to throw off the family. Did you systematically try to throw off the Caucasian, the European family in America? Have you systematically tried to throw off any other ethnicity in America? Throw off their family structure? Did you do that systematically? No, but you did throw that sink at these folks. So understand that it makes good sense, and then it's a rebelling because they don't want the garbage anymore. At this point, we should be taking over every public school system that our children are predominantly in and overwhelming the educational system with a structure that they have to thereby abide by that's highly beneficial directly to our students and not accept nothing else. If we paying tax dollars, then these tax dollars are going to be utilized to our benefit, period. Whether it's Common Core or what really needs to be established, that's what it's going to be relative to our children. And we're going to challenge them. Science, biology, AI, robotics, everything Wi-Fi, okay? Martial arts and yoga, how to eat to live, how to grow food. You know, these types of things, we should be enforcing it ourselves. Later for this nonsense, they laying down. Or stop paying taxes to the school system if they're not going to educate your children.
Pete, let me ask you this.
To the public
Pete, let me ask you this question.
Our own schools at this point.
Pete, let me ask you this question, brother. Do you think and we talked about this last night. We had a huge discussion. We talked on a whole Real Men Being Men about a topic we had on what are our roots. But do you think America has done a disservice to the black people here in this country?
Absolutely. And did it intentionally. So it's not just my own narrative of, oh, I feel this way. I'm a victim. I'm not saying that. Yes, there has been purposeful, determined intent and systematic application to negatively affect this ethnic group of people, these melanated folk in America, the Negro, black, colored ones, the Aboriginal, indigenous of North, South, Central America, the original inhabitants of this land. Yes, they have done everything they can to negatively affect these people. But in spite of, yet, here, still, we are. Do a scientific search on that.
Wow. Then what do you say to that, brother?
Say to what specifically?
Well, he's saying they've done systematically done intentionally put an effort forth and to hold the black people down here in America, hold them back here in America.
Are we still talking about education?
No,
because there's racism. Critical race theory says there's racism all through America. Now, an issue such as this, like with education, you have to find out what do you want. It's the issue, because one, I would very much be for non-compulsory education, which means if you don't want to send your child to school, don't send them to school. Just don't send them. And I'm even to the point where, one, if you defer the tax dollars as well, you can go back to the 50s if you want to. That's segregation.
But then help me understand. You say you for, if you don't want to send them to school, don't send them to school, and then you say you don't want to go back to the 50s because that's segregation. Isn't that the same thing?
No, it's not.
If you're not sending them to school, you're separating them from the school system.
No.
But my thing is, I just want the school system to do right and be just and give them the proper justice that they deserve, just like everybody else.
But when you say justice, when did this become such a combative matter? It's about the delivery of education. And some people will find fault with everything if you don't do with what they want you to do. Public education is not that complicated.
But my thing, and I don't want to keep jumping in when you talk. I want to let you make your point. But my thing is this right here. My focus is the fact that we're talking about, if we're gonna stay where we are, we're talking about our students being suspended and stuff like that, higher than everybody else. If that be the case, they're not getting proper education that they need because they're at home. They're suspended for something that they quote unquote did that somebody else could do the same thing and not be. I don't care if you don't. I say this all the time. I don't care if you don't treat me fairly. Just treat me equally. Just treat me the same way you treat everybody else. I don't care if you treat me fair or not. It's just where I feel.
They both go hand in hand.
Well, no, it doesn't, because if you're going to penalize or punish me for for a certain thing that I did, and then somebody else will come along and you're not going to penalize and punish them for the same thing, then I'm not being, I don't, it's not fair. That's what's not fair.
So
My thing is, if I steal a piece of paper and you suspend me or send me home or something like that, and then somebody that don't look like me come along and steal a piece of paper, and you tell them, you can't do that, now go back to class, there's no justice there.
Well, if you make that assumption that's what's going on, then it's always going to be what you believe. Now, you said a whole lot. People don't get suspended because they black.
That's not what
people usually get suspended for something that has been done. So I would have to look at what has been done and why there's such a high rate of. You do know I have a doctor's specialist degree in education, right?
Yes, I do. But my thing is right
for
here,
these very issues that we're talking about, right?
Leonard, what you're saying, brother, what you're saying is you're saying that a person don't get suspended because they're black. True. A person gets suspended by what they do. True. But my thing is, and my issue with what you just said is this: everybody, if the suspension gonna be to the suspension, and you're gonna get suspended for an act that you do, suspend everybody for that same act. What their research said and what they said is very unjust is black students get suspended more than everybody else for the same thing that everybody else has done. But a black student would do something, get suspended. Somebody else that don't look like them will do something, pat them on the wrist, go back to class. That's not fair. That's not justice.
No, it's not fair. I never said it was fair. But it's a fact. So what are you going to do with a fact? If you were at a 95% black school, who do you think would be getting suspended?
But Leonard, see, now you're putting a whole different spin on this thing.
No, I'm not. What I'm saying is it's just information. The analysis is different. Why are they being suspended at such a higher rate?
Because they're black. What the research is.
That's what your assumption is.
That's what the research said.
They looked at what happened and found out that the majority of individuals in their study that were suspended, blacks were suspended at a higher rate. Okay, so what do they attribute this higher rate to? Just being black?
I saw this on the news this
morning.
Like
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
No. I'm trying to tell you. They say because of the fact that they're suspended at a higher rate because of the fact that they're black, and that's and that was the point of what they were trying to say. They had this whole research thing. I don't understand why they had to do the research. I could have told them this. They could have called me on the phone. I'd have told them. They I ain't gonna say they wasted their time, but they didn't have to put the
time. How would you have known?
Because I've been in the school system and my wife been educated for 25 years. I talked to different people in the educational system. You has a background in education as well. I'm sure you know. They could have came and asked you. You could have told them.
But that wouldn't have meant nothing just because that's my opinion.
Yeah. And that's why I say the research is fine.
The fact of the matter is, when you read the research, you'll find out why the researcher felt that happened. Or what type of research did they do to get this information. If you're looking at, people can tell you one thing just to make their point. Whatever the news, what was the news's point? Because usually this information ain't big enough for media headlines. So there's some ulterior motive for presenting the information the way they did. Now, if you want to say, well, that's not right, okay, then don't suspend them. Stop suspending them. Is that why we did it? So now what we're going to do about it is that we know it.
The individual that was talking was saying that there was an absolute injustice in the educational system here in America, and this is a big part of it. They said they went into the details about the research that they did, and from that research they have said that black students are suspended more. And they said this person said because they're black, they've been suspended more than anybody else for the same little petty little thing or whatever that they do. They're suspended. And so my thing is, in listening to this, I wish I could have called in and talked to him. But Leonard, man, you'll go back. We'll play tennis all day long. Let's go to Mr. Hicks. What's on your heart, brother?
Wow. First, I want to say, Pete, he just expressed all of my emotions and thoughts about this thing. It's generally within the system without a true understanding of the plight of black people in this country, the dysfunction that they're coming from out of their homes and out of the community, and the pent up frustrations, and the teachers' inability to excite them with the knowledge they're trying to depart.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the main thing they're trying to do in the classroom is just keep control. Teaching is not the main priority. It's about behavior.
Mm.
And again, we don't really respect authority, because all authority we've learned and seen has never been fair. It put black child, well, it put me in a position where I obeyed authority, but I always questioned it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the whole kind of thing. And when in this program I was dealing with kids, I said, okay, you're going back to school system. It's not fair. You got white teachers, all black students, and they don't see things that way, but you got to learn how to just obey them and respect their authority. But now you got to learn how to question them.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not geared. I mean, there's a fear. There's a fear of black anger. A white kid could get angry and it's perceived different than a black kid getting angry.
Mm-hmm.
But Pete wrapped it up for me. I'm done. I wish I had a recording and I could go back and record that thing. He was on it.
Well, it is being recorded, so you can actually go back and look at the rebroadcast and pull whatever piece or point you want from it. And
I definitely want to do that.
Absolutely,
but
absolutely.
As far as you know, when I was pulled out of prison for this program, I was going to college. I was going down. I had finished a 2-year junior college while I was locked down. And when I had on this release program as a pilot to start this program, I was going to Glassboro College,
Mm-hmm.
going through that psychology called Young and all that. And what I saw, even in terms of college, my first ever college, they were trying to get me, in order to pass, my thinking had to be shaped to get that A from them and get that okay that, yeah, he's part of the club. He thinks like us. We've got him really indoctrinated, and all the information I'm getting is really from peer scientists, so they agree on something, but it's all theory.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that because it wasn't happening with these kids. So I didn't go to college and take what I learned in college and I'm apply this to the thing. They hear that generic college educated degree click kind of thing. I got all the facts because I got the papers to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of thing with the arrogance that they sense in teachers. But again, people's all over it. I appreciate that.
Good deal, good deal. Ibrahim, good morning, sir. How you doing this morning?
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody.
Hey, good morning to you, sir. We're talking this morning. We're talking this morning about people being suspended and black students being suspended at a greater and a higher rate than everybody else in our school systems. What do you say about that?
I can look at my experience integrating a white high school, and I can look at the experience of my children. They run from 50 years old down to 35. You know what I mean? And their experience going to school. And I guess all of them, they were more successful than I was, but however, yeah, that's always been the case. When they were going to school in the 80s, 90s, they tried to give every kid drugs. They said all my kids, one way or another, needed drugs for mental activity. And boys over 6, and this has been a study done 20, 30, 40, 50, my God, years ago, that young boys at 6, they start losing out in education. They become genius. They get to be 6 or 7, 8. They start losing out. Instead of blaming the kid, Johnson & Johnson, other people did research and found out that because they were hyper, they wanted to be challenged. They wanted to learn more. They wanted to learn at faster rates. They were considered diagnosed with having some type of mental problem, and they couldn't be educated. And that happened a lot during the X generation. Most of my kids are X, and so I say kids now, but they're growing men. You know what I mean? Women,
yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But that continues to keep going on when it comes to educating black children. And some of the studies were done. I had an opportunity though in the 60s and 70s. They tried different forms of education, which was working, but it wasn't a payable thing. It wasn't fit for the government to indoctrinate us. Education that we have are to make good employees. They're indoctrination.
Mm-hmm.
They're not education in the sense that education is. If we go back to Greek mythology and philosophy, how the way they deal with education, Aesop and other people, so other people, right? You know, so it just indoctrinates you to a certain level to make you feel confident within society and in your society, right? So education needs to be thrown out. I don't care if you're black or white. It needs to be thrown out and revisited. It should be education learning as needed. You know what I mean? And college should be looked at the point of earning more money. I was just listening to the financial channel today, and they were talking about that that all these traded people with high education, the people that all these technology degrees, they need to throw them out. They throwing them out because technology has developed so much, they're useless. You know, so now they talk about getting interns and finding people master certain things that can be up trained. You know what I mean? So these are people with 2-year colleges. Kids out of high school could be up trained, and people making $1 million a year or more are useless now. They don't need them anymore. So they're gonna be back in the unemployed line, you know, driving trucks and such things. You know what I mean? And that happened back in the 90s after the first Gulf War. But this is the kind of things that we're looking at. You know, we say one thing, we want one thing, expectations for our children, and then in reality, right, we're putting them into positions where they're clones, where they follow rules and regulations, where they believe what they hear, where they make opinions based on false information, and they get the information from people that to encourage this particular information. And I hear this all the time. That's why I get frustrated sometimes when I be hearing certain things, because it's almost like you can see where it comes from and what's being distributed, and people are going to think such because you're in this society, and you're going to think so. Well, you clone, you know.
Good deal. And got to keep it moving, Mr. Ibrahim. Got to keep. Hold on. Don't go nowhere, sir. Don't stay right there. Stay right where you at. Leonard, what do you say about that, brother? You know, the whole education system need to be redone and revamped to a more modern day ideology, if you will.
Really, I don't know what you all mean. However, I know various types of schools that focus and concentrate on various types of learning styles. A lot of them are charter schools. A lot of public schools now are making a lot of different changes to things. But I'm not the best person for this conversation. I'm really not, because it's just too much what if. It has to be an outcome that you're looking for. Now, to sit there and say what public education is not is a bit one-sided. It's just a general education. What really determines who you're going to be in life and what you're going to choose, you don't really start doing that until you get to around high school, maybe. Because, you know, people change and evolve. You may want to do something this day and change your mind the next day. So this, if you look at it always through somebody trying to get you, not train you or dumb you down, that makes no sense to me. If it's that bad, why are you going up there? Because everybody else is going to keep going and get ahead of you.
Well, Leonard, if you don't let your kids go to school, man, them folks a lot of times gonna lock you up unless you go file them papers and say you're going
homeschooling.
You have to go file them papers though. You still got to go file them papers.
But it's
you say you got to homeschool.
I understand what you're saying. My son has we're getting ready to let him go back to school because this will be his first year of high school. Not so much that he ain't getting the proper education at home, but there's a social aspect of education that plays a huge part.
There is.
So if you just want to you're not helping children at all by telling them that for some reason public education is not for them.
Okay. My thing is, and I'm not telling them that at all. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, my whole point of this conversation, I want to go to Cassandra because she's with us as well, and she also have a background in education. My whole point of this conversation is that the fact that, and like it was presented this morning with the person that was on the news, he was saying that Black students are being suspended at a higher rate. Now, if they're going to school, if the parents want their kids to go to school and get the education, they cannot get educated if they're being suspended over and over and over and ending up at home sitting in front of the TV because they can't go to school because they're suspended. My thing is, and if that's majority from what their research show, if that's the majority of Black students that this is happening to, then there's a disservice that's going on to the students. Now, I have to say both sides of the coin. I have to say that your children, when they go to school, they should know how to act a certain way. Certain things they should not do. I have to, I can't say all this and not say that they should know how to discipline themselves and act accordingly to the rules that are placed before them at the school. I have to say that part too. But if they're being suspended for something that they do and somebody else do the same thing and not be suspended, then that's why I say that the disservice is. Cassandra, good morning. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning.
Cassandra, a researcher said that black student he did his research on the educational system and has come to a conclusion through his research that black students are being suspended more than everybody else. Cassandra, can you see that happening, or where's the problem with that?
Oh, it happens. I worked, the school that I worked for was a private school, Soaring Eagle Christian Academy, in Stone Mountain. And we would get so many kids from public school that had been suspended over and over and over again, to the point that the parents, some of them got banned from the different communities, and we would take those kids, the ones that they said just they didn't want them because they were, disruptive or whatever. There is a problem with many of our kids, and yeah, they are being suspended. I believe that was on my heart at a higher rate, but they're cutting up and acting a fool more than a lot of these other groups. So, we have to deal with what is wrong with our kids. Why are they acting up in school so much? And I mean, the discipline is not there, because when we would get kids, and Valeria Wade, Miss Wade, is one of the greatest. I mean, she owned the school. She was the principal. She taught a class. She was absolutely amazing. But we had to, when we got those kids, first thing off was teaching them how to be respectful to those in authority. That was that was huge with them. You're not going to talk to us any kind of way. You're not going to do what you want to do. You're going to be the class. You're going to come prepared. It was like the things that they should have been taught at home.
Yes.
We had to, and can I tell you something? Many of the kids that we got came in there with D's, F's, failing horribly. And we would be able to do a turnaround because we started with discipline first.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's good. That's good. And that's a part of it right there. Like I said, we can't deal with one side of the coin and not deal with the other side of the coin. Some of our children are out of control. They are out of control. And but then again, there's not just our children. It's a lot of kids are out of control. And so how do you regulate that? What needs to happen to get these kids back in order? And my thing is, if you want to suspend one for something, suspend all of them for the same thing. You can't just pick and choose. Okay, you go home, you go back to class. You come from a better family, so you go back to class, get the education that you need. It's a lot of different layers in this thing. Curtis, good morning. How you doing this morning?
Hey, what up, Ryan?
Curtis, we're talking about there's been a research that has been conducted, and in the conclusion of that research is they said the conclusion that they have is that black students get suspended more than anybody else. Curtis, how does that strike you, brother? Talk to me.
How does that what?
How does that strike you?
Well, school to prison pipeline. That's how it strikes me. School to prison pipeline. I don't have nothing to say after that, man. School to prison pipeline.
Wow. Leonard, talk to me.
I mean, like I said before, I'm more concerned about the delivery of education, that it's done properly and equitably. I don't sit back like Miss Cassandra couldn't have said it better, because she went into why. See, black folks get upset about information, not how it's used or what it needs used for or what it can direct you and how it can help you. Didn't nobody do the research to make you look bad. The research was done to find out what was happening. So now that you find out and you have the information, you go into what are the causes? We have a problem with education as it relates to discipline and behavior. It's called classroom management. You talk about, first people jump to, well, since we came off the slave ships, this has nothing to do with that.
No, it doesn't. What it has more to do with is the fact that they're being treated unfairly, and they're being suspended.
Even that right there is an assumption.
It's not an assumption. Leonard,
yes,
the research shows.
No, you said
that's not.
They're being treated unfairly.
Yes, they are. If they're being suspended,
how are they being treated unfairly?
Because of the fact that they're being suspended on more than anybody else. When somebody else, you cannot tell me. Look at the prison system, Leonard. You're gonna tell me
we're not looking at the prison system. We're looking at the suspension rate in public education.
Leonard, hold on, brother. My thing is this right here. I'm throwing it in there for a reason. If you look at the prison system now, if we're supposed to be of a certain percentage of this population, why are we 85 or 90% of the whole population of the prison system? Because there's an injustice there. Something is being done. Now, let's get back to what we're talking about. If they're saying that the black students are being suspended more than anybody else, they've done their research. This is the research that they was talking about on the news this morning. It was a local, it was a local channel that I flipped through the channels here in Atlanta. It's one of the local channels here in Atlanta that had this research on there. Now, if you have that situation going on where they're suspended more than anybody else, again, we're not the majority from what they say. So our population is less than theirs from what you say. So if you're going to have any black student suspended more than everybody else, what is really going on with that, Leonard? You're going to tell, are you trying to say to me that nobody else do anything? We the only ones that act up in school? Please, come on, man. That's not true.
I never said it because that's why I never would say anything like that. I just wouldn't.
But
if you want to say it, go ahead. I'm just not going to agree with it.
But my thing is, if you look at the numbers, let the numbers represent themselves. If you look at the numbers, you see black students, and from what they're research, I didn't do this research, Linda. I
did the research in 2006. It was the same thing.
So black students in 2006, are you saying the same thing? They're being suspended more than everybody else?
Yes.
Okay.
No, wait. I don't say it like that. I give you the actual details of what came from my research.
Okay. And
not just what I believe.
And from that research, looking at the numbers from the research that you did in 2006, were black students suspended more than everybody else?
They were suspended at a higher rate than compared to Hispanics, American Indians, Asians, their counterparts.
There lies the problem. There lies the problem right there.
But that's not. But the issue are you talking about? You have to be specific. You can't just lump all these things together. Ms. Cassandra just explained to you that there's a behavioral issue that they didn't probably talk about when they did the little headline in the news.
That's not okay. That's fine. And I said, I addressed it. I say,
if you have an all-black school, do you believe that no one should be suspended?
Hold on. Let me say this to you. I addressed that as well. I said that we have to deal with both sides of the coin, and that the kids have to know how to act when they go to school. I addressed that as well. But my thing is, I'm just looking at the numbers aspect of it. That's where the dilemma is, because you cannot tell me that our students are the only ones that's acting up in school, but our students are the ones that's being suspended more than everybody else. Badger, yeah, absolutely, you can speak, Badger. What's on your heart, brother?
So, I think I'm pretty sure I found the one you're talking about. What do you think's the predominant race in the schools that they're talking about?
I don't think they even address that. They're just talking about throughout the school system, and so it would differ from school to school, I guess.
Well, this one that I pulled up, it is black students. There are 33% of the students are black. 18% are white, 11% are Asian. So one of the things that I've been paying attention to is ratios. If you have, a certain percentage and there's trouble being caused in one way, shape, or form, like the kids getting suspended and things like that. Now, I'm not saying this is true everywhere, because I do know, like Public was saying, that like there are some school districts that will get in trouble especially if it seems like it's being racial profiling. So it's one of those things of why isn't it saying or being clear on why are there suspensions? Is it racial profiling or is it other issues?
I think what this research was mainly looking into is the same thing I'm saying over and over again. They're looking at the numbers and the amount of suspension. I didn't see the part, or maybe I missed the part where they're talking about why they're being suspended, whether it's fighting or whatever. That's not the part they was concentrating on. What they was concentrating on is the numbers and the amount of black students that's being suspended in comparison to everybody else.
So my niece, right? She goes to middle school and high school. Well, I mean, she in middle school. And she was telling me her experience down by Houston in public school. You want to know who treats her the worst in school?
Who's that?
That starts the most fights? Black people. And she's Mexican.
Wow. Wow. It's so many different ways I could go with that, Benji. There's so many different ways. 30 seconds, brother.
So it's, here's my brown niece. If we want to do colors, who was born and raised in Mexico, English is her second language, and the ones that bully her the most are not white.
There's so many different ways I could go with that, man. Oh wow. I just say wow. Rico, good morning, sir. How you doing this morning?
Man, I can't complain, man. I'm just thankful to experience another beautiful day, man.
Exactly. What's on your heart, brother? I know you've been listening for a minute, man. What's on your heart about this conversation?
I just started listening not long ago, man. Little is right on finding out why those conditions exist. But, it's funny that, should we be surprised at that story? I mean, I hear the research that was done, and I hear the research that Leonard did in 2006, the one that study that you heard this morning. And I didn't need no research. I did my own research with my eye test and experience. I remember how it was when I went to school. I remember how it was when all my relatives went to school. I remember how it was when my children went to school. And then I know if it's going on in the prison system and it's going on in the workplace, it's just going on in regular society when you interact with police. You know it's going on in schools. The dropout rate. They've been talking about the dropout rate for over the past decade, if not longer. Blacks are dropping out of high school. The graduation rate for blacks are 50%. It's 50%. I'm like, wait a minute, it's only 50%. At first it was the black boys, and then it turned to the black girls. Only 50% of young black adults are graduating from high school. Oh my goodness, what's going on? But I already knew what was going on. Because I was a victim of one person being able to say a little sarcastic joke and everybody laughing and the teacher embracing it. Then Rico saying a little sarcastic joke, and my friends doing the same little thing, and we can sent out the classroom. That was in the 80s. Bias. You see, now don't get me wrong. We do have a behavior issue. Just like we know that bias and racism exists, we know it's some disrespectful little turds running around here, some spoiled little brats. We know that there are some latchkey children that are at home raising themselves because the parents are working 2 or 3 jobs and having 4 or 5 sources of income, hustling to live the American dream, and not spending quality time with them children who are learning from the internet to be disrespectful and go viral and to do a knockout game on old people. I mean, just think about what we've been witnessing the past 10, 15 years, especially with this social media and the trend. Young people dictate the trend. Oh, yeah, and they're trying their best to create a new one every time you turn around. That's why they got challenges left and right. As soon as the parents finish working and doing their shopping and living their best life, they come and spend quality time doing challenges. Nothing worthwhile, nothing of value. So you see a whole different mindset of quality when it comes to standards and values and people, to where this shouldn't even be a surprise. To me, it's a wake-up call. Now, if somebody needs to do a news story about this to wake people up about what's been going on for the past 40 or 50 years anyway, then cool. But to me, this is old news.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. 508-924-3521. 508-924-3521. Give us a call. Let us know what you think about this whole situation right here. We're talking about research has been done and it's been brought forth that Black students are being suspended more than any other students in the school system. Is that justice? Is that justice? Is that right? Is that fair? Or where is the underlying issue that we really need to be talking about this morning? Curtis, what's on your heart again, brother?
What's on my mind?
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, listen, I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, like, what's the word I'm looking for? The treatment of African Americans and other races in given crisis situations. It's a disparity all within itself. It's a disparity all within itself. And if I can't speak on that, I'm like Rico. I live by the research data, but I also live by what my eyes have seen, what my ears have heard. You know what I mean? And there's been a disparity on the treatment of particularly African American and Latino folk and Indian folk in this country since its conception. And that's just what it is. It don't stop. It's a perpetuation of intergenerational wealth. It's a perpetuation that says, I can't realistically do it, so I do it by the back door. But we can't just say, I don't know, man. We can't automatically just blame parents and this, that, and the third. There's a whole system connected to this.
Yeah.
It's a whole. If you put a kid in a situation where every time you see him, he's going to be looked at as a rebel rouser, guess what he's going to become? He's a child. He's going to become a rebel rouser. He's going to become what you tell him he's going to become. I'll land a plane with this. I seen a YouTube post one time, right? And it said it was speaking in reference to one family who was in the child's ear from birth. And they were saying, basically, you're going to be a doctor, 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 you're going to go to the best school, right? And they did it like it was like a whole bunch of different things in the environment and all kinds of stuff. But then they went to the other family and they started with environmental stuff first, right? And everything that was in that kid's environment was negative. Everything about his life was negative.
30 seconds, Curtis.
And they came out, and last but not least, in my last 30 seconds, numbers are skewed, man. Either way it goes, numbers are skewed. They serve a purpose to state a certain ideology. So I go with what I heard, what I seen, what I experienced. And there's a gross underhanded treatment of African Americans, Latino, and Indians in this country. That's just what it is.
Good deal. Good deal. VP, good morning, sir. How you doing this morning? VP, you there?
Good morning, DKM Radio.
Yes,
y'all had a
sir.
blessed week so far.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's talk about it, brother. What do you think about this research that was done, brother?
So, my honest opinion, and might be off to the not so friendly side of it, is I don't think that it's skewed to a point that it's an issue. I think it's bringing awareness, but I also will say that the education system is an institute that's preparing other people to get ready to go into college, and so they can use them to make money off of. So you got to think of these people who are training these teachers to go into these communities and teach these kids to become some type of citizens that the American culture wants you to be. And we're forgetting that the American culture don't fit every culture. So I think when we bring up these types of statistics, which I don't know where, what school district it was down there in Georgia, or why they decided that they wanted to say Black students are getting more suspended than others. But I will say there is a discrepancy in behavior on both parts of the reporting for the teachers who are okay with pursuing this type of discipline measure, and also not truly taking full accountability for the behavior of these children and where they come from. Because me growing up and me watching some of Tadeo's friends, there is a disparity in word I'm looking for. No, actions in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could tell when a student, and don't get me wrong, if they did these stats, and I'm sure Leonard or Rico or somebody like that has these stats, where if it was an all-black school, how many of them kids are getting suspended compared to a school that's mixed kids? And that's where you're getting this well, they're just suspending our black students. But what if these students are coming from an area where these same kids don't have that raising a level of how they think an institution can be? Like, I went to Syracuse University. I've seen these black kids that come from the hood, the ghetto, but they have a mindset. They understand, hey, I'm here to get an education. But once these school bells end, then it's party to the nicer house. Or if the authority shows up, I know how to address them without making it look like I am somebody trying to make a scene. I don't think Rico brought it up. I don't think not education. I don't think the way these kids are being raised is being brought up into this conversation to address why this is happening. I think it's easy just to go back to skin color, because that is the nice knock on the head, let's get it out the way type of thing. But in all, are we addressing what's really needs to be done here? Are we having enough African American or enough people who look like us in the school system, teaching these kids what it's like to get beyond the behavioral issue? Because I'm not gonna lie, me growing up, the black kids were the ones that had the behavior issues. They were the ones that always were fighting. They were always the ones that want to tell jokes during the class. They're the ones that want to be the class comedian and want to have all the center of attention. And don't get me wrong, and I ain't saying white kids didn't do this or Mexican kids didn't do this, but that's what you see mostly. So
okay.
So once you get that stereotype going, it's an easier one to fall on and keep moving forward with.
Okay.
So
Good.
I don't want to ignore that these kids, or whatever the stats coming from, that these kids may be
VP.
that
Preacher. We gotta keep it going, brother. Hold on one second, man. Hold on one second, preacher. Go.
Right.
Let me go to Peter. Good morning, sir. How you doing this morning? Okay. We might have lost Pete. Paul.
May I?
Hold on. I'll come right back. Who is that? I'll come right back to you. Hold on for a second. Paul, been holding on. Okay, hold on for a second, brother. Paul. Good morning, sir. How you doing this morning?
Good morning. Doing okay. Yeah, this is a pretty heated conversation, and yeah, as you know, I'm a teacher. I think we've established some basic facts so that we don't have to debate certain facts. Or I don't know, maybe we do have to debate certain facts, but it sounds like most everyone is in agreement that certain Black communities do have a problem with the students behaving. I think most of us seem to agree on that. And I think most Americans, even white conservatives, would agree that, well, maybe not white conservatives, they would probably disagree on the cause of that. But I think a reasonable person would have to acknowledge that the history in this country has led to conditions of dysfunction in certain communities that are not addressed. So this is just one symptom of a deeper disease that you know, you can't put it on the teachers and go, okay, teachers, you need to change, and then you need to change. Like we had a guest speaker who wrote this book, Wretchedemic, and he was talking about how white teachers can reach, Black kids, and we need to understand the culture and different things like this. And it's like, it's a big ask. You're asking me for me to change who I am. You want me to adjust who I am to meet the needs of every single individual student. That sounds good on paper, but realistically, I have a million different types of students. And so you can't put it on the teacher. These problems are way deeper than an individual teacher or school. I know that was a great question though. Whoever said that last question about what are the suspension rates in all Black schools? And I think that varies a lot too. Like I think some schools have tried to sort of tailor their curriculum to meet the needs of Black students. And I think they've had some success in certain cases. So I don't know the answer to that, but I think that it's probably better in certain cases.
And see, my thing is, I don't know if we want to tailor certain things or curb certain things. I just would like to be in a situation where everybody is treated fairly and justly across the board. Because, like I say again, I don't care. And this may sound a little off center a little bit, but I don't care if you don't treat me fairly, long as you treat me the same you treat everybody else. Long as you treat me in the same way. If I do something, and I've used this example earlier, if I steal a piece of paper and you suspend me for stealing that piece of paper, then shouldn't I expect for everybody that steal a piece of paper to be suspended as well? Shouldn't I expect that? Or am I asking too much? If I steal a piece of paper, you suspend me, and then somebody else come along and steal another piece of paper, they go back to the classroom and you tell them that, straighten up, you can't do that. Hold on, there's an injustice there. But let me keep this thing going. Toussaint, what's on your heart, brother? Good morning. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing all right. Did we get way out yet, or are we working on it?
We're working on it, brother. I think we're very close to it, though.
Did we? When
Yes,
we
sir.
gonna break off and get to the point where we just start going off?
I think you about to do that. I think you about to kick the ball, brother.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So now what are we talking about this morning?
We're talking about the injustice. There's been a research that came forward that said that Black students are being suspended at a higher rate than everybody else. Is that justice? Where lies the problem, Toussaint? Why is that? Is that an issue?
Well, who's running? And I say two things. What are you doing with your child before they leave home? And who's running the school?
Mm-hmm.
And then, don't they? It used to have, or do they still have? And I think my brother he's a teacher. Do they still have what you call that? Parent-teacher conference, school board meetings?
Yes. Yes, they do.
Things to the point where you can go to the school, and if you have issues, you go there with the right attitude to get it resolved.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Because it's you can't just send your child to school and expect You send them down the street and expect everybody to treat them right.
Mm-hmm.
You have to kind of check the situation out. Made it simple, like this. How was your day?
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, we don't know how our children's day is until they get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Long as they come home, and if they make their bed, and if they get their little cereal to eat, and they don't get in our way, we good. We only find out that children have a problem when the school sends them home.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we do, and I say we, for some, we go to the school with our all fixed, all dutied up, raising hell.
Mm-hmm. Hey. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. Good deal. Good deal. Ibrahim, you wanted to say something, brother?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people mention research and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot is not academically performed to know what a research is, honestly, because you would prove out a research two different ways. That is to look against your preconceived notions. And let me use that word over and over again: preconceived notion and your bias. And the people that you're studying are looking at positive numbers on their bias of research. So research is a very complicated thing, right? But basically, history, the study of history was all research. Malcolm X said that. And I would have to go back to people like Carter G. Woodson. And what he talked about education at this time, the way he viewed education as opposed to education and education that was presented to Black people. And that's a very telling thing if you really study and research what he researched or how he came to that conclusion, right? And then you look at Marcus Garvey talking about the justice system, right? Or you look at Booker T. Washington, discover what in context why he in Atlanta in 1895 did a compromise. Or we could go in front of the future. We can go to a person like Dr. Amos Wilson, that I think very few people understand the value of this psychologist and this Afrocentric psychologist, he would call himself, and how he came to certain conclusions, right? And based on fact. Now mine, it's also based on my experiences in the grade in White High School and the problems I faced and how I was dealt with and how white students were dealt with, on the same issue about race and about fighting. I looked at derogatorily and attacked derogatorily, even though my academic grade said otherwise, because I was raised, I came up with a different father and a different attitude. But and I had a sister that was a principal. She was a principal, and I ain't gonna call her name, but I tell you, she was at Reed Day in high school. She was a principal. She came up through the ranks in Atlanta, and I sat there with her and had observations. She used to call me in just so that she could feel protected and safe. Sometimes not distinct from the students' parents and other teachers, and seeing, and these were primarily Black high schools, right? And see how some of the attitudes were. But by using these numbers, if we go to the opinion that Black kids in general preconceived notions are problematic or trouble, then we miss the whole point. Because you go to a Black high schools and schools, you have these kids, you have these family members that come in there with a hell of an attitude.
30 seconds.
My kid's not getting enough education. Why you passing? Oh, why you not passing my kid? Because he tried hard. But we would forget the fact is that children are still children, and the education system is not biased against just Black people and people of color. They want to assimilate in a culture that never existed. It's even prejudicial to the same to white people in the same educational sense and manner, because they come with these preconceived notions, these preconceived ideas, ideologies. It depends on who you talk to. We'll go from psychology is one of those things. We'll go from some bizarre to something that don't even make sense to something about a cokehead, to somebody that may make some sense in current issues.
Good
but
deal.
you use the word numbers, but another saying is, facts and figures don't lie, but you can lie with facts and figures. But I think the reality is real, that Black people in this country are not being treated, and students in general in this country are not being treated in a manner where they can be educated, compete with the rest of the world. Now, how about that? That this country, the education in this country it's down into the low numbers as far as educational students around the world. So that's
Ibrahim, gotta move on, brother.
Not just
Ibrahim, we gotta move on, brother. Hold that thought. Write something down so you can pick that up, because I want to circle around, be fair with everybody. Time. Let me go to Mr. Hicks. Mr. Hicks, what's on your heart, brother?
Yes. I was drawn to mind of a study done in England by this guy called A.S. Mills, and he called it the Experiment Summerhill. And he had a group of kids. He got them from kindergarten all the way up to high school. But the whole curriculum was based off whatever the students had an interest in, and the teachers sort of drew their attention to explore what their interest was. But at the end, they had to pass a qualifying test by England, and they would all pass these tests and go on to be leaders in college. And then you think about when I was deal with these kids, rebellious kids kicked out of school and then into juvenile, but don't have any real serious criminal records, so I pulled them out. And the biggest factor that I had to get them to understand about authority, I know you want equality, and I know you want fairness. I'm trying to give you the world you're going into. You're not going to get that. You're not entitled to it. People are not going to give it to you. So you've got to figure out a way to have a goal beyond this person that's instructing you, that's not being fair, to get where you want to get to where you want to be. And you will find that as you begin to expect fairness coming from people, and by your behavior, and that's the discipline that comes from inside you, is that you can earn that from that individual person that experienced your life. But for as the system, the whole compulsory education system, like was designed, like I think Peter said earlier, it was designed to make workers. And when the jobs start disappearing, and when the jobs start, through the economic thing, jobs start disappearing, then they sort of extended the thing where kids now had to go older to keep them out of the job force to compete with other people. So it's created adolescence, creating to an older age, and that suffers in not having kids work. And then with the then putting down a thing of minimum wage, it allowed kids that would normally get a job and gain skills because they didn't have any skills, but they could get paid, which would be considered minimal until they increase their skills. But again, I think
30 seconds.
You want fairness, you want equality, but you're not going to get it. You got to understand that when it comes, you say that's a blessing. I got that, because everything is going for that same basic things of culture. Our kids are coming out of culture that's just telling the kid, if you sag your pants and you got tattoos on your face, you got to expect a certain response from people. So when you make these about these lifelong things, tattoos and stuff, you got to recognize now it's going to limit you from certain opportunities.
Absolutely.
Because people do just the book by the cover.
Good deal. 508-924-3521, 508-924-3521. Give us a call. We'd love to have your input. Cassandra, what's on your heart?
Yeah, I grew up in the hood in an all black school, and it was like literally everyday fights every day. There was fights going on. I've said before, I became a part of a gang at 11 because at least that gave me some kind of coverage in school, because them girls, they would whip your behind. I mean, this was the 70s when people were trying to follow Coffee and Cleopatra Jones, so they had the razor blades in their wig pieces, and it was horrible. And it was, it was like an element of fear going to school. And now you hear kids talk about it, how they're being bullied and they're scared to go. Why should a child be afraid to go to school? Because of the way they're going to be treated for any reason.
Yes.
So we really got to, something needs to be done, because homeschooling, I think, is great, but everybody can't homeschool. I love homeschooling. If you got parents that can be there and make sure that their child, I think homeschooling is great. But I think Leonard may have said it, they need that socialization. So, yeah, if you do it for a while, you get them in the mindset that you're there to get an education. You're not there to be cutting up back in the food, you know. I think it's great. But I don't know what the answer is, because now it's getting worse. These kids, literally, I think it was a few months ago, there was a school where there was so much fighting, black school, all black school, there was so much fighting that the parents were like, I'm pulling my child out. I cannot let my child continue to go to this school, because they were on the news, like, I think every week.
Yeah, exactly. Rico,
it's ridiculous.
Exactly. Rico, what's on your heart, brother?
Yeah, man, there are a number of factors that contribute to these conditions. You know, we can point the finger at more than one thing, because we know each one of those things exists, and we know they exist because they exist in the judicial system, and they exist in the workplace, they exist in banks, you know. But like Sandra just said, you know, we also have those issues where you have people that go to school and shuck and jive.
Yeah,
they want to be the class clowns, and some of them go because they're discouraged and they're told that's what they have to do. You know, I think based on the information we received that you brought up, there should be a come to Jesus moment where parents say, well, okay, you know what, if this is the issue, and we really are believing that our children are being targeted based on race, then we need to go back and think like our grandparents did and tell our children, look, you know you black, you know you going up in these folks' school, act like you got some respect. Get your lesson, learn what they can teach you, but don't get brainwashed. Don't get caught up in their mess because they don't want to teach you. They didn't want you there in the first place. And they are looking for a reason to kick your tail out. And so, you know, this is what I noticed. I went to a majority black school at first, like maybe 98% black. Man, the only thing we had white in that school was like a teacher and a lunchroom lady.
Good Lord.
She was German. I mean, you know, that she spoke German. She was from Germany. And so I was able to witness a lot of fairness. And here and now, you might have had a little favor because you had some of the students that came from a better background, and they had more cooperation from the parents and the teachers. Well, you had some students that were in poverty. The parents didn't care. Saying and they couldn't reach those students, so they probably didn't get as much attention. They might slip through the cracks. But then I went to this white school, majority white school, 85% white. And I realized the minute you get in there shucking and jiving and acting a fool, we ain't gonna play with you. Especially here you come, he got a mental problem. She got a learning disability.
Wow.
These same people own businesses now and was superstar football players. You know, when they may have been the class clowns or the ones that were behaviorally disruptive, when they found out they could run that ball or they could dunk, they could score some touchdowns or they could knock somebody's head off. Oh boy, you 6'8", 300 pounds. We could we could use you on that football field. They might put up with a little of your problems. Then you might get a little favor. You might get the same favor some of the white guys that get in trouble, but they sweep it up under the rug because now they need you. See, those that exists too. So we have so many different things that exist, and then we talk about the behavior issues of those black children, and we do understand that a lot of this comes from the fact that they don't have the home training. They're not getting the quality time at home with parents, and then the parents don't have time, number one, to homeschool because they got to work 1 or 2 jobs. If they have to come up to the schools to have school conferences, they might have to leave work. You get what I'm saying? I mean, you know, you got a lot of single parent households where the mother is the only one doing these things. She has more than one child. She can't go to each one of them conference. She can't miss work every day for each one of them getting in trouble because she's gonna lose her job, or he gonna lose his job. He get to missing too many days. So I mean, there's so many different factors in play of what's causing these situations where we see the children in school laughing and disrespecting the teachers. And man, I seen a video one day where 3 or 4 young black men was running after a coach He was trying to break them up for fighting, and then they turned and ran after him, and he was a coach, and he had to get on his what they call his Tom and Jerry.
Yeah,
he had to get on it. Grown man running from these young boys. You get what I'm saying? So I mean, it's a different environment now, but it's the conditions of the world that is also trickling down to what's going on in school, along with the problem that was already existing in schools that we still fail to address, or we let slip through our fingers and think we didn't have to worry about because we got distracted by life.
Exactly.
As parents, especially as parents.
Especially, absolutely. 508-924-3521. 508-924-3521. We're gonna move on to another topic that and pretty much why I stand the same. What decade? All of us here are of a certain age. What decade would you like? If you could pick and choose, what decade you want to raise your children in? What decade would you want to raise your children in, Cassandra? And why?
Now would be the 70s.
I think we might have lost. Did we lose Cassandra? I think we might have lost.
No, I'm here.
Okay. What decade, Cassandra?
The 70s. I don't know. Even though it was, I don't know, it was something about the 70s that we were coming into freedoms. We were coming into, Black power, and even though my school was rough, I still feel like if you wanted an education, if you wanted a better life, that you had some type of opportunity then. I saw like a light. That's what the 70s is, when I saw like, hey, Black people might be able to achieve what they need. So for me, I think the 70s might be good for me.
Good deal. Ibrahim, I think I heard you say the 70s.
Yeah, the 70s.
Why so?
Because education was going through different changes, and they were actually trying to educate people. And also, it was the time that there were jobs. There were things that I'd never even heard of, and I came from an educated family that was out there for me. There was opportunities out there. There was businesses. There was the pride of being Black, and Black excellence was demanded. To be anything less was considered, anti-Black. To want the best for your people, to do the best, do your best. Irregardless, we still have a little old school in us and a lot of future ahead of us. And it was a wonderful time. The music, the dance, and the camaraderie, even between races. And finally, people started adhering to the laws that were brought in the 50s and 60s, about civil rights and everything. You could go where you wanted to go. All you needed was the dope. And you could make money that your parents never even heard of, dreamed of, incomes that nobody knew existed. I mean, we had Black astronauts, for God's sake. We had Black jet pilots. We had Black men that owned a darn airline out of North Carolina, Black Airline. I can go on and on. It was just a time that, the skies were the limit. Then when the man went to the moon, we was already thinking about Mars, Black people on Mars. You know what I mean? And, and the solar system. So it was that time, But now it just seems to be so much different. You know what I mean? Like, we're against about education. We're against about moving ahead of being better than, that we don't value who we are and why we are. It's a word or a thing now. Back then, you was even the white people expect you to be better than, that they thought that you were better than anybody else. You know what I mean? That because you wanted to be better. You had an ambition, you had a hunger in your gut, and it was out there for you. All you had to do is go get it.
Exactly.
Go anywhere, do anything. Hitchhike across the world, for God's sake.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So, but it don't seem that all these opportunities open now. Like I tell my kids and everything, and my grandkids and my great-grandkids, I said, the world's out there for you. All you have to go get it. But I can't do this because I'm Black and slavery. I said, look, hey, we had a lot tough, and our parents had a lot tough, but despite all that, this is what they did. Well, that's your son now. Blah, blah, blah. So, we didn't have an excuse. The only excuse was that I was broke because I was broke. You know what I mean? And I could do better. You know what I mean? Or at least I could even think that I could have less expectations of wealth or debauchery. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I got a roof over my head. I eat. I got clothes. My children are eating. My children are going to school. My children live in a better environment. They ain't got to worry about their lives. You know what I'm saying? or reinvest it into somebody else. It could be worse, you know, and want to be better than the next man. You know, I don't want to have what he got. I want to get my own thing. You know, I'll envy you because you're wealthy. You know, I got my own type of wealth. I got my own strategy, what I want my kids to have. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
But, you know, the 70s was magnificent for me.
Mary, good morning. How you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm winded because I'm moving, but I'm here.
Okay, good deal, good deal. What decade is the best? Do you think was the best to raise to be in school and the whole school experience? Not that you have because you know you only got a few you can choose from, but you don't know about the other ones.
I've been around the month of Sunday.
Leonard, you hear that?
I have to say the 90s only because everybody said it was exciting and I didn't get to experience because I was 3. So I didn't get to really enjoy the 90s. So, I mean, the cartoons were cool, but I would like to experience the 90s and I felt like I could do that. So I would probably want to raise my kids in the 90s. I don't know. It just seemed more exciting.
Okay, the 90s. Okay. Badger, what's on your heart? What decade?
Before the Romans got in power.
Oh Lord, see. Badger, everybody else say 70s, 80s, 90s, and you went way on back there. Go ahead, Badger. Finish your thought, brother.
Well, that's before things got very corrupted. I don't think there really is a good decade in America, in my opinion.
Okay.
It no matter what time you look at, there was some kind of issue in school systems. You were either not allowed to teach somebody something. Well, I guess you could also say it depends on where you live. You know, if we were still in Texas, yeah, no, I'm good. I don't know where in America it was like actually equal, like actual, you know, empathy, equality. Just I'd probably say before Europeans showed up here.
Okay.
I just y'all are a lot nicer than I am.
Good deal. Rico.
By the way, so the topic that we were talking about before. So it was primarily talking about what was on your news channel was Gwinnett County. I don't know if I pronounced that right.
You did.
The superintendent there, after doing the research and things like that, came up with a plan to start implementing in the school districts in the county to promote change and equality. So they saw the issue, they figured out where most of the issues are, and now they have a game plan to implement to improve it.
That's good. And so my thing is, you know, you got to just keep our eyes on it, watching and see what happens or what comes out of it. Rico, what decade is best, man? What were the best decade?
Man, I gotta say, for mankind and for myself, I'll say the 70s. And you know, at first, I was sort of second guessing myself on that because I was wondering whether I feeling that way just because I was, you know, so young at the time, and you know, I had so much more freedoms and less, you know, cares or responsibilities. But then after I heard Cassandra and Ibrahim speak, I realized it was for the same reasons. It was for legitimate reasons. We had a lot more social and community order back then and unity. You know, we didn't have all the technology that we had back then. I mean, you know, grocery stores were closed on Sunday, and if they did open, you had to get there before 5. Wasn't no 24-hour stores. You know, you grew most of your food. You in the early 70s, I don't remember seeing second and third shift jobs too much. You might have had a few, you know what I'm saying, but for the most part, you know, you saw more 2-parent households. I love going to people's homes and actually seeing the mother and the father. I thought that was normal, even though my mother and father had already split up. It was so abundant for me to meet friends, and when I go to their homes, I see the mother and the father, Mr. Evans, Mrs. Evans, Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Johnson, and just know that this is the way it's supposed to be. It was different not hearing about violence so much. Oh, you heard about it. It happened, but it didn't happen so often on a regular basis, just out and about in the community. You didn't have to sleep. You know, you hear people say from back then, I remember when you used to sleep with your doors unlocked and your front doors open with just the screen door closed. You could actually trust your neighbor because your neighbor had probably been your neighbor for 15, 20, 30 years. You didn't have neighbors moving in and out. They buy a home and then all of a sudden they want to upgrade. So now they selling the home, and you know, because that's the way we move now. I mean, right now people don't even buy homes for legacy. They buy homes for clout and image. And then when it comes time to leave something for somebody, they forgot about the home house because they sold a home that they birthed the children in 2 houses ago. Just moving on. We're just on with the world evolving. So we're so caught up in this evolution right now and progress to a point where we don't even really appreciate the finer basic things in life that we did in the past. Now, I was listening to your daughter when she said that about the 90s. I almost thought about that too, you know what I'm saying? I thought about the Stop the Violence movement, but then I thought about it, I was like, nah, you know what? She thinking about the fun stuff. And that fun time in the 90s, completely destructive. That's why we're looking at what we're looking at today. I was about to say the 90s. But then I thought about the community, actually the community and the house, the homes, the household, the schools. We didn't have no school shootings. You might have had a gang fight. You might have had somebody got stabbed. Somebody might have brought a knife to school and stabbed somebody and killed somebody. That probably happened here and now. But mass school shootings in 1972, no, you didn't. I mean, that happened at that college that one time, but you didn't hear about that going on in no high school. There wasn't no Crips, no blood, wasn't no crack. You know what I'm saying? There weren't too many little girls having to worry about coming to school because they had been sold to somebody for some dope the night before.
All right, preacher, hold on, preacher. Let me go.
Too much to say, man. It's too much to say.
I see. Leonard, what's on your heart, brother? Talk to me. What decade?
The next one. I mean, everybody, I guess, would prefer when they grew up. That might have been your favorite one.
So, Leonard, you saying the 30s?
Well, I mean, it just depends. Now, I think the reason why people start.
I threw a little joke in there. He didn't say nothing. Okay.
No, it just wasn't funny.
Oh, that's what it was.
I think most people are choosing the 70s because of the huge investment in education in the 70s, and then you could see where money was being spent. Various programs and things were being funded by the federal government for education because it was about building a better educated group of citizens. And so a lot of people contributed to education more than you've seen. This is right after the Civil Rights Act legislation. That's why you've seen so many differences because of funding and things like that. Say, for instance, one of the best educational workshops ever was the I want to remember the electric company. People think Sesame Street and all these things were just TV shows. No, these were federally funded programs. And they were very effective in education, in aiding education, especially right after the Civil Rights Movement. Also, there was a push for higher education then as well. This notion that some people have, that is really, I think, contributing to a lot of a contributor to what we see today is some of the choices that some people made they weren't happy with, and their lives didn't work out the way they wanted them to. So now they have a bias against certain things. Like Black people are more likely to say, the reason why my kid ain't doing well because they just smarter than everybody else. No, they're not. No, they're not. Trust me, they not. Oh, my kids acting up because y'all ain't holding their attention. No, it's not. I mean, come on, man. Really? Your child's so smart, but they failing. Well, how they so smart? I mean, what makes them so smart? I mean, you know, back then people went to the root of a problem, and they were more so trying to work on, okay, this is how we fix it, because we want you to be successful. We want you to succeed. People who had educations, like my parents, my dad, for instance, and a lot of his friends were in college. They had just come back from the war. They went to college, but guess what? They had families to feed, so they left college because they had to go get a job to make more money. So that switched a lot of that need for education to providing for your family. So a lot of men went to the plants and things of that nature because they had to work and feed their families, because that's the choice that they made. A lot of folks didn't even re-enlist in the military after that because of the jobs that were available. Remember before, when it wasn't jobs, guess what? Go to the military. But then when businesses and stuff started hiring more, they started staying home more and in their areas and going to work. And that's where that hard work ethic came from. And let's stop saying that, one, the reason why we have to work is because of some agenda. The Bible says you must work to eat. This is not some way out notion of some programming. You will till the ground in order to eat.
Yes, absolutely.
Ain't nobody dropping food off.
All right, preacher. Hold right there, preacher. Let me keep this thing going. I'm gonna play. I think this is the opening thing to one of my favorite shows. Hold on.
Hey, you guys!
Y'all don't know what that is. None of y'all know what that. Y'all know, Rico. What is that, Rico?
My favorite show right there, boy. I used to go crazy when I heard that.
Exactly.
Look, grandmama would sacrifice all her time, to let you watch those shows because she knew it was important. Sit there and watch it with you. Sesame Street and the Electric Company. Yeah, man.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do this right here. I'm gonna put it out there for anybody, and you have to do it within a minute. You gotta see it as soon as I say it. Y'all gotta see it because I know y'all are going. Y'all trying to research and get the Google and stuff like that. I'm gonna ask y'all a question, and the first one that responds with the answer, I'm gonna cash app. I'm gonna cash app you $5. You ain't gonna be rich, but I'm gonna cash app you. All right. What is the address to Zoom? No takers. Good. No takers. Because that Zoom, I remember that from way when I was a little boy. Too late. You took too long. You don't have time to look it up. We can't get it to you now. But the address was. They said all these singing a song. Right, Zoom POOS box 350 Boston, Mass. 02134. Send it to Zoom. Y'all don't know nothing about that. Curtis, what's on your heart, brother? Curtis,
what up?
Talk to me.
Yeah, what up, man?
Talk to me.
What's up?
What the best?
I don't have one. I don't have one, man.
You don't have a best decade?
I don't have one. You know what I mean? Like, children are a gift from God. I could raise kids in any decade and enjoyed it. But when I really look at the truth of what's been going on here, man, you know, I'm just gonna keep it all the way above, man. I don't have one, man. I don't have one.
Okay, that's cool. Pete, what is yours, brother? What is the best decade to raise kids in? If you could go back any decade, what decade would it be?
I would say the 50s for me. We had more family structure, moral compass was a little higher, and people had to do for themselves more, and they had a desire to achieve. So it was all about you being responsible and doing your best in everything, and achieving, accomplishing, doing better, doing more.
That's good. Willa!
Hey, Raheem. Good morning.
Good morning, Willa. How you doing this morning?
I'm good. Good morning, Morning Glow. Good morning.
Good morning. We asked him what is the best decade. If you could go back to any decade to raise your kids, what decade would you want to go to?
I would say the 70s. And the reason I said the 70s is because I saw a lot of change when it came to education. That was during the time when they started transitioning the children, the black children to the white, to desegregate the schools. And I got an opportunity to see the balance of how the children were being taught in different schools. How when I went to Locke, which was an all-white school, how they had a different form of education than it was when I went to Emmett, which was an all-black school. But I learned something. I learned the balance. I learned a lot of different things. Teachers that really wanted to teach the children. It wasn't just about a paycheck. They made sure that they understood a lot of things. And I saw the balance of change. That's why I said, and just like Rico was saying too, as you got older, during the decade, you became an adult, and then the responsibilities were a distraction from what we really needed to focus on. So it was more focused to me in the 70s.
That's good. That's good.
That's what I want to say.
Mr. Hicks, what decade? Mr. Hicks, you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm sorry. I was listening, deeply listening. And I don't know. It's now. I couldn't pick a better time than right here where the Creator put me. Now, a time of revelation, a time where truth is coming out, all the things that have been hidden, and the lost knowledge of exactly why we are in the situation that we're in. I think that information, the internet, just this time with my kids, I have a whole bunch of grandkids and great grand, and I communicate with them through Facebook and through all the medias today, and I can point them in directions to sort of have some sense of influence on their thoughts. But I can't pick a better time than now. Right at this point where the world is trying to decide, are we going to be ruled by the people? Are we going to get a dictator and get a communist government and all that stuff? Or are we going to be free? So I couldn't pick a better time.
Good deal. Good
And
deal.
I think that a lot of times we're not aware of the different commissions going. There still is commissions going on in Canada, all over the world, about the 9/11 attack. There's still questions being answered by committee behind about the Kennedy assassination. These things that have been hidden for us, locked up and say 100 years, are going to tell people they can't hold it. It's all coming out. I think this knowledge will inspire the youth and even the elders.
Wow, that's good. That's good. Paul, what do you say? What decade, brother?
Yeah, I think I agree with kind of what Leonard and Mr. Hicks said there, is like, it has to be now. We have many more opportunities now, like the opportunity to get information because of the internet and things like that. We have technology that can solve so many problems that were unsolvable in the past. And but in terms of like culture, I think our culture is bad. It's real bad. So culturally, I say 70s and 80s. The music was better. People were not so jaded. People are just, I don't know about your community, but I live in Los Angeles, and people are angry around here. Crime has gone way up, and everyone's upset, depressed, angry, afraid. We need a revolution of some kind. I guess in recent decades, the Obama era was pretty good. Crime was at a low, I think an all-time low. The economy was humming. I think there was optimism for Black people. You see representation. And then social media came in, and then we saw the ugly beast underneath the surface, which is hatred and racism and all that. So it has to be now, like Leonard said, the 30s, that's going to be our best decade, I hope.
Good deal. Good deal. Let me go to VP. VP, what's on your heart, brother? Talk to me. What's the best decade? VP,
I'm
you
sitting
there?
here listening. I'm trying to think. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was, I had just missed the 70s, so I don't have the realistic, real world knowledge of what it was like. Sitting here, and I was like, 70s do sound like a good one, because back in my Psychonaut era, so that would have been where I was at. Hey, but the tell the truth, shame the devil. But I'm thinking, man, for family purposes, I think just because I read it, I didn't live it. If being as honest as Badger's been and saying, you know what, if certain eras where I didn't want to deal with people because of, but I think the structure of the families in post World War II era, right afterwards, right before they started to decide, right before the marches and all that, and equality really had to get faced. I think those times where we had a community and we weren't so fascinated on technology answering the questions for us, or people were still thriving to have something to show. I will say, my only thing I would say is I wouldn't want to live there with the mindset that they had then. I guess so. Having a cheat code, you couldn't have that. But if I had to live through the 50s and knowing what my grandma and granny had instilled into what I am now and what she grew up through, that's something that I think I would have wanted to live, an era that I would have want to go back and live through. Is the 50s.
Got you. Good deal. Good deal. Let me go to Toussaint. Toussaint, what do you say, man? What is the best decade, Toussaint? Puff, puff, pass.
Man, what you say? Flashback. Let me come back to myself. I'm born in it. I actually, I believe, this is me. I think I'm born in it. Things had happened that shook America, and to the point that they said, we're not going to take this no more. Even us. We had songs like Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud.
Come on.
The same man says, you don't have to, how is it? You don't have to give me nothing, just open the door, I'll get it myself.
Yeah.
Respect yourself. It's between mid-decade, 65, 75. It was a period of time of it's like was a complete turnaround. We was being sent or voluntarily would go into schools that didn't want us, but we was like, hold your head up and go anyway. Then they're not going to respect you. You get your respect. That's what you're going to do. You don't leave the house and embarrass me. That's what they said. So when we knew that they didn't want us there, they didn't want to teach us. But what we got our lesson before we left the house to ensure that we wouldn't bring an F home. There was discipline. And I'm just saying that because I lived it. Who people were having, we were having multitude of children and still making it. Because we had a standard. I'm just saying, I'm the last of 12 children. And I ain't never seen my mama go to work. Because the man took care of the house.
Yeah.
The household was solid to a certain extent. Not everyone. But if you didn't have a solid household, at least you can go to a solid household and say, I need a cup of sugar, and go get it. And they'll send it. A flower, or we'll kill an animal in the yard or in the field, and everybody in the neighborhood had it.
Yeah.
Just saying. I'm out of time.
Good deal. Good deal. Navy, good morning, young lady. How you doing this morning? Navy, you there? Oh, Navy, we can't hear you, sis. You must have, if you had a phone call or a text or something like that, it knocked your volume off. Might want to go out and come back in so we'll be able to hear you. Go out and come back in. We can't hear you right now, sis. Leonard, you back with us?
Yes, sir.
What's on your heart, brother?
Just listen, like I said, most people probably would choose their decade.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I love education. I'll probably go to school my entire life. So, you know, I'm about advancement. This is the best decade because one, the whole purpose of education is to educate yourself. It's so much easier now to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is just a matter of decision.
Yeah.
Do you want to or not?
Mm-hmm.
The only people that don't are those people that don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no reason for me to even try to compare what somebody else went through, because even though I choose the 70s, other people may have had certain other situations that wasn't so cool for them in the 70s.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You know, one thing I particularly remember, I remember a lot of people who went to jail, and they went in jail for a long time, and then they got out 25 later after murdering people. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's everybody's perspective based on their experience, I believe.
Yeah, and it is.
It's not like it was one time was so much better than the other one to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that. I don't think like that. But I know it's much easier for me now than it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for me. I mean, because you know, like I like what Donald said. That's the first time I ever called him Donald. I usually call him Tucson.
Mm-hmm.
He made it plain. When you wanted excellence, that was it. But now people don't care nothing about excellence. They live mediocre lives, they have mediocre feelings, and they just mediocre people. And they want everybody to be just like them. And some people find success and wanting more offensive.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. Let me go back to Navy. Navy, you with us?
Can y'all hear me now?
Absolutely. We sure can.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Loud and clear.
On the struggle bus. Good night.
we trying to ask the question, Navy, and I would need to hear from your heart on this one here as well. What if you could go back to any decade? What would be the best decade to raise kids in?
Oh Lord. Well, Mr. Raheem, I have a duck, so I don't know if I'm the best person to ask this question to when it comes to raising kids.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, of course I have to agree with what Mr. Leonard said. I am a little biased. You know, I'm a mid 80s baby. So I grew up in that era, in the 90s era, and that was the best to me because that's what I got to experience.
Yeah.
You know, me and my cousins were outside playing. We didn't have to worry about how many likes we got on social media or trying to go viral. We the education system, well, from my experience, anyway, of course, that comes off the back of those from the 60s, from the 70s, from those prior generations. Like I got to live out what they fought for, and just like the generations now are living out what they paved the way for. So for me, the 80s, 90s, they were the best to me.
Okay, good deal. Good deal. Now, Mary had a question here, and I want to pose this question to a few people as well. Mary come up with some good questions. I don't know where she get that from, but Cassandra, we'll start off with you. Cassandra, you there?
Yes, I am.
What is the most valuable lesson to teach a child?
Yeah, that is a good question. I think to probably love themselves. Because if you can love yourself, then you'll find a way to find the positive in other people. But I think self-love would be what I would say.
That's good. That's good. Mr. Hicks, same question. What is the most valuable lesson to teach a child?
Most valuable lesson? Say it again.
What's the most valuable lesson to teach a child?
I guess self-respect and self-love. You know, be the most important, I think. And it's not an easy lesson to teach, though. You know, because there's so many forces aligned against them. I was thinking about something when one of the people was talking, and it was that as people, I think about how they say about roaches, how ancient they are. They put poison down, they eat the poison, and some kind of way the next generation come on, they're immune to the poison, they overcome it. That with all the powers of all the European worlds and everything, institution, everything designed to destroy us, we still here. We're still here. Yeah.
Watch this. Watch this. I got you said this, Miss Hicks, and I got to throw this joke out there, man. Every now and then I get a good one. So you
go ahead, see if it's funny.
So you saying we're like roaches?
Well, listen, I say that because listen, roaches and rats were part of my growing up.
Oh, okay.
We had this historical rat. He was known in the neighborhood. He goes from house to house, right? And he had a hole. He was come out to my room. I never see him, but I put a new pair of shoes my mom had bought me. I blocked him against the hole. I said, "We're gonna get this rascal." He chewed through my brand new shoes, right?
God almighty.
When we finally got him, the whole neighborhood came out. He was huge. He had gray hair. He was a legend. But roaches and rats was part of the whole thing back then. That's my joke.
There you go. Hey,
in reality.
And see, and yours just happened to be a lot funnier than mine, brother. Yours happened to be a lot funnier than mine. Rico, what's the most valuable lesson to teach children?
Man, to always try to be good, be positive, and never give up. You know, I was thinking about what we was talking about earlier, though, and this platform is like a good social study if you really observe and pay attention. You know, when you listen to what Navy said and what Leonard has been saying, and pretty much what I said earlier too about the 70s being my childhood, so I didn't want to sort of be biased because I didn't have that responsibility. But I noticed what she said about the 80s and 90s, and it really goes to show you how every child that's born into this world, whatever is going on at that point in time, is going to be their norm.
Yeah. And
they're going to look at it as okay, acceptable. And I was thinking about what she was saying about what was so great about the 80s and 90s, and I went in and put on Facebook what was so messed up about the 80s and 90s that made me not choose it. And that was my heyday. Then was when I tell you I was making videos. That was my stomping ground time. But I thought about the Crips and Bloods, and I thought about AIDS and crack, and I thought about that Russia and America war that was looming, that they had us thinking that was gonna go on with the USSR, and just so many different. I thought about Ted Bundy and Wayne Williams, and I was like, oh my goodness, man, I can't say the 80s, I can't say the 90s. I seen people turn into crack and sell their children, and dang. I can't say 90s because I lost too many friends to that gang violence and to being robbed for crack. But see, she didn't experience that. Her childhood was a lot more pleasant because she didn't have those worries. Exactly. And so I made sure that I thought about that when I said the 70s, because I thought about the unity, like what Donald said, the standard. He said that about the standard in the 60s, and he brought up all the things that was going on in the community and the world. And I don't know if you meant for us to answer what would be the best time for us to bring up children, or the time that we would want to go back to. But when he said that about the 60s, I wasn't born in the 60s, but that was the time I always wished I would have experienced. I wish I would have experienced that era of the 60s, man, because whenever I look at the nostalgia and the past things that they talk about with Woodstock and Jimi Hendrix and Martin Luther King and revolution and civil rights and man, I would have been all in the middle of that, man. That was so exciting. It looked so exciting. That time looked more exciting than anything I ever seen. And I love this technology. I love the future.
Yeah.
But as far as unity and just community in the world, where the world was at that point in time, I don't know if we'll ever be that united again, unless there's another 9/11 or aliens make contact.
I'm gonna throw this out there. We're not gonna stay here for nothing but 3 seconds. We're gonna stay here for 3 seconds. Do you think aliens exist?
Oh, you know my answer on that. We are aliens. If you ask me.
Good deal. We'll stay. Keep it right there. What is the most valuable lesson to teach a child? Navy?
Can y'all still hear me? Because I'm just not sure about. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I can agree with everything that everyone has said thus far. The only thing that I would add to it, honestly, would be self-care. And when I say self-care, I don't mean that in the commercialized version of hair, nails, trips, and things of that nature. When I think about self-care, is the idea of how can I better myself mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and to a degree financially. Because for me, that's what makes us up. Those are all the components that we experience every day. And I for me, and because of what I do day to day for work, I've started to see that we really just don't know how to properly care for us. We know how to take care of everybody else. We know how to troubleshoot for everyone else around us. But whenever, and I think that, well, thinking, I feel like that part of that goes back to whatever we experienced from our childhood. So for me, I would love to pass this information down to my children whenever the Lord blesses me with them, to how to properly choose the autonomy to take care of yourself, to pour into your cup first, because we don't tend to teach that to our children.
Exactly. Somebody told me to ask you, I don't know who this is that said this. Let me see. It was Rico. Navy, can you sing?
Can I sing?
Yes. Can you sing?
If you want your ears to bleed, of course.
Okay, well, we ain't trying to do that. We ain't trying to do that.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I was listening to a podcast, and they said that too much self-care is toxic. Because I don't know who just said something about self-care.
That was Navy.
Just said something about okay. You said Navy, like the color?
Yeah, like navy blue.
Oh, okay. Well, I have a question for Miss Navy. Because I mean, I understand the perspective on it, but do you think too much self-care could be a toxic trait because you're always striving to be better rather than accepting yourself who you are?
Wow. Navy?
That's a good question, and one that comes up often. And my answer to that is too much of anything is can be toxic. However, when we're talking about the true essence of self-care, no, there's a balance. Now, is there a balance that you have to find? Absolutely. But too much self-care, can it be toxic? In my opinion, just in my opinion, no, it can't. Because I'm not talking about just focusing on yourself. And I think that's why most of us struggle with self-care as a whole anyway, because we feel like we constantly have to be improving ourselves, and we constantly that is selfish within itself to practice self-care. I'm speaking more so of like, if I'm tired, can I say to myself, and can I be okay with, okay, I'm going to go take this nap, rather than having so much built up anxiety about taking this nap because I feel like I'm not being productive? And what got me on this journey was the fact that me as a Black woman, and looking at my mom and my grandmother, none of us was taught how to take care of us. We were taught how to take care of the house. We were taught how to take care of the husband. We were taught how to take care of the dog. If we were feeling, there was no such thing as anxiety, depression, or anything like that whenever they were growing up, and it wasn't taught to me. So for me, I just wanted to break down, like, can I do simple things like choosing to take a nap, choosing to eat at 8 o'clock rather than 12 o'clock, simple things like that. It doesn't have to be complicated. And I think what society now has done, especially since the pandemic, is overcomplicate self-care. It's simple things like, baby, take a nap, rest, identifying that, you know what, I have too much on my plate. I'm gonna have to say no to this, sis, because I don't have the energy and the space to give out to you. So I think that journey within itself has to be something that we identify, but I don't think that it could be toxic.
Now,
Hopefully that.
now I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Navy, you came with the energy that time, girl. God almighty, you came with it that time. That, you know, you put it out there. You put it out there. Let me go and definitely appreciate that.
Hey, can I talk?
Yeah, go ahead, brother. You messed up my rotation, but go ahead. He said, Go ahead, Patrick.
Hey, I've been waiting for a minute. Response to me, what I think a lot of kids need to learn, especially in this day and age, is be responsible for yourself and to others. Because that encompasses a very high moral and ethic of what the towards a combination of self-care, love, anti-hate, and an understanding of you have to take care of yourself to be able to help others. So it's learning to find that balance, sort of like picking up off of what Navy was saying and some other people were saying. And the thing that I was wanting to say earlier about the topic of the decades is I was sitting here listening to everyone, and one of the things that like popped in my head that I've been like swishing around is if we had more community in the 60s and 70s, and then in the 80s and 90s it seemed to start dropping off. And it goes, a lot of kids I've ran into hate school now. They talk about being bullied all the time. They talked about way stricter rules, harder to succeed. Now we have mass shootings. What happened from the 70s to today where the community doesn't exist?
Look here now. This is way out Wednesday, so I'm gonna go way on out and watch this.
That's why I said what I said. I wanted to ask what is people's opinions of what happened from the 70s to now?
From the 70s to now, I'm gonna tell you what happened. Kids forgot how to fight.
Oh.
They don't know how to fight no more.
Oh.
Huh?
Well, of course not. All they gotta do is pull a trigger.
Yeah, they don't know how to fight. You know, like I said, you take them out there. You take two kids that want to fight, and they, like you said, they want to go out there and pull the trigger. Put them in a circle and say, "Look here, take all your weapons, and everything, put it to the side, and if y'all want to fight, look, y'all gonna fight inside this circle." Man, ain't nobody throwing no punch, man. Ain't nobody throwing no punch. Them kids don't know how to fight no more. Curtis, what's on your heart, brother? Curtis?
Oh no, I'm here. I was just listening, man. Like, you know, self-care is not a bad thing. Navy had a real good point. Like, too much of anything is toxic and bad for you. That's any and all things. Too much of it can be toxic and bad for you. Self-care, a lot of times we hear the terminology self-care and we think it specifically and directly correlates or connects to you personally. But the greatest thing about self-care is developing an awareness of how you can directly or indirectly affect the masses around you. See, self-care can be very, very hurtful to yourself, because if you're practicing true self-care, then you're going to find out some inconvenient truths about you. You're going to find out some things like, oh no, I'm not perfect. And no, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I'm not the brightest bulb in the basement. But are you willing to accept that? And are you ready to receive that? See, I think these gurus has used the terminology self-care to the detriment of those that they want to practice. That's all I got to say.
Good deal. Good deal. Let me go to Willow. Willow, what do you say is the best thing? What is the best thing, best quality to teach a child?
So, the best thing the best quality to teach a child, I believe today is whatever you do, first you seek the Lord in doing it. But then I can hear in my mind my son's voice saying to me, Mama, can you be a mama sometime? And what I would say to him is this. I would say that you can't control people or even change them, but the only thing you can control is how you respond. That's one thing. Another thing that I would say to him. And lastly, I would say, don't lend money that you expect to get back.
Wow.
So
wow.
Those are some things that I would put in order right here.
Boy, you change the gears when you say don't lend no money. Boy, people are like, woo, people, woo, woo. Leonard, what's on your heart, brother?
Based on that question that you asked, it is treat others how you want to be treated.
The golden rule. Yes, sir.
Yeah. That was my number one thing that my parents taught me is to treat others how you want to be treated in every single situation. You said something that almost made me hang up the phone and never come back to the show this morning.
What's that?
It's okay to treat me unfairly as long as you treat everybody else the same way. It is not okay to treat me unfairly. I don't care. It is never acceptable, which leads into what she said about the self-care. Self-care is definitely needed when there is a deficit.
Yes.
When you ain't washing up and you ain't gonna care nothing about your hair, you're overweight, obese, health bad, and everything. Hold on.
Good Lord.
Hold on.
Good Lord.
You got to take some time out before you just drop dead and take care of yourself. Now, I think the extreme of that is this idolization of self. See, a lot of people idolize themselves, and that's spoken about in the word. You got to be careful not to do that. You know, how you better than everybody else? How?
Everybody?
How you better than everybody else?
Everybody?
And you think people should worship you? That's too far to the right. But taking care of yourself is very important, and a lot of people don't do that. You know, whatever they may be doing or what have they, for instance, drug abuse.
Yes.
It's big. That's one of the biggest things that has changed our society is drug abuse. And it's not like weed or no. I'm talking about real hard drug abuse that cause you to lose your family, get incarcerated, all them types of things. This is what happened to people. And it ain't just happening to black people. Y'all go watch the white people and you'll find out that they worse than y'all. But they just don't put that on the news every day like they do with other people's situations.
Yeah.
They right now having the biggest problem with meth. And then think about it. If you have pregnant mothers producing children who are using drugs during pregnancy and things like that. And also the modeling behavior. If your mom and them ain't got no education and they broke, what are they actually modeling for you?
Yeah.
And so we have these continuously issues of poverty. We know what causes poverty. We know it's directly related to lack of education. We know it's definitely related to single parent homes and all these types of things. So what we're trying to do is help people and motivate them to say, hey, look, you might want to get a better education. We know you had a rough time with this, but here's a way to get you out of this crisis. So I think that self-help and things like that is seeking that help that you need. It's not just about, you know, balling out. You know, it ain't balling out. It's taking care of yourself so you happy with yourself.
That's good. Now, Leonard, let me ask you this question. Do you think a lot of the issues are happening because people are not, quote unquote, happy with themselves?
I think a lot of it comes from unhappiness. When some people are just, if everybody else rotten, why don't I just be rotten?
Wow.
You know, you got people preaching right now. You know, there's a lot of people on that negative.
Go ahead, Leonard. I'll come back to you, Curtis.
There's a lot of people on this no hope negativity trip, man. I can't get down with them people. I don't kick it with them. I don't like to hang out with them. You know, the closest I come to negativity is is in these types of forums and things and listening. And then immediately I go into, why is it negative? Do you want to be better, first of all? Or do you just love being negative?
Wow. Okay. Okay. Let me go to VP. I hadn't touched him in a minute. Let me go to VP, and then I'm coming to you, Curtis. VP, what's on your heart, brother? What is the most valuable lesson to teach a child?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I think
VP? I think we might have lost him as soon as he got started. Yep, we lost him as soon as he started talking. Go ahead, Curtis.
I had forgot all about that question. So if it were I, knowing what I know now, the first thing I teach my sons, and I did teach them this because I knew then, manners will get you further than money any day of the week, right? I learned it from my grandmama, but I've also developed a learning and a teaching that says manners will get you further than money any day of the week, but you must understand your economical value. You must understand the economical value if you want to exist in this world. So that would be the greatest lesson that I think, in my opinion, that we can teach to our children of today.
That's good.
You know, when you start understanding your real economic worth to this world, then you have a greater chance and a greater propensity to then develop self with that economical value in place. You already feel that you are a value or a commodity to what's going on around you. So that's just my thought.
Good deal. Good deal. VP, coming back to you, brother. What's on your heart?
Yes, sir. I'm teaching, or I believe that I'm teaching my son two things, man. The two hardest things that you'll get growing up in life and having to do to somebody else, and that's love and forgive. You got to love yourself and be able to show love to others even when it's hard. You got to be able to forgive yourself. You got to be able to forgive yourself for having moments in time that hinder you from growing, or forgive yourself for loving this person that you shouldn't have, or going down this path you hadn't, but also forgive others for doing wrong against you. Because those are the two things, if you don't have, then you don't let it go, it'll hinder you, it'll hold you back, and you won't be able to get the full possession of what life and what God has for you in it. So, and two things those are the two things that I think I would want to instill in a child.
Good deal. Good deal. Good deal. Let me go to Cassandra. Cassandra, you with us? Cassandra, you with us? Cassandra going once, going twice. Let me go to Willa. Willa, you with us?
Yes, I'm with you, Raheem.
Well, I'm gonna ask you a question, and this is certainly an individual answer to these questions that I'm about to ask right now, and everybody probably gonna have their own different perspective on it. But Malcolm,
wait a second.
Yes. Yes.
I get to answer the question.
Oh, excuse me. What is the most valuable lesson to teach a child, Mary?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
You know I was going to.
Go ahead. I thought you were. I want you to say the advice your grandma gave you.
Okay.
How do you show her that you love her? How you act when she's not around?
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. And that's exactly what she told me. She said, "Look here," and I remember that experience. I said it on here a couple of times, man, about how it happened, running up and down the store, doing what I think I'm big and bad enough to do at that young age. And I cut that corner, and she was standing. They ain't had no cell phones and stuff like that back in those days, man. Exactly. There you go. There you go, Rico. They ain't have cell phones, so I thought I was safe. You had to go to the and you have to have a home phone in the house and all that stuff, man. I'm with my aunt, man, so I'm doing what I want to do. I'm running up and down the aisle, knocking stuff off the shelf, man. I'm having the time of my life. I cut that corner, gonna run out, and I look up, and there she go. Lord Jesus, Lord Jesus, oh Lord, I done mess up now. Lord, I don't know. She looked at me, and She down the long aisle, and she said, "Do this here." She said, "Come here, come here." That was the longest walk. That was the longest walk I ever had in my life, man. I finally made it down there in front of her and got my head down. She said, "No, hold your head up," and she put that talk on me. She said, and the part that stuck me in the heart, man. She said, "You don't love me too much, do you?" Amen. If anybody know me, and yes, Lord, anybody know me and know me and my grandmother's, man, look at him. That was like she stuck a knife in my heart. Yeah, Mama, yeah, I'm trying to explain. She said, "No, you don't. Because the way you show me how much you love me is how you act. I know you act right when I'm there, but how you act when I'm not looking over your shoulder, when I'm not right there with my eyes on you, that's how you show me how much." And I ain't never did that now another time in my life, man. Never. But man, that's yeah. See me, you got me that time. You almost brought a tear to me. I got to move on. Gotta move on. Will, are you there? Rico, you know though. Rico,
yeah,
you know.
I'm here, Brian.
I'm gonna ask you this question. Like I said, each one of them is an individual answer for whoever's answering the particular question. But Malcolm said by any means necessary. Does by any means necessary mean the same today as it did back then?
Great question. By any means necessary. Great question. And what I think and what I believe he was trying to say was that, to me, just to me, keeping your freedom, keeping you from being enslaved to anyone, to anything, within yourself. It's a self, by any means necessary means that I have to be free in my mind, allowing myself to be able to think and be able to react or do those things that I need to do that are necessary at the time when things happen. So are they happening today? Could. I don't know. Sometimes it does. There's so many distractions. That word distraction is just sticking with me. That we are unfocused, that we're not focused to the things that we need to focus on. So yeah, by any means necessary, we got to keep that freedom within ourselves.
Absolutely.
That's what I want to say right here.
Good deal. Navy, what do you say to that? By any means necessary, does it mean the same? When Malcolm said it back in the day, does it mean the same thing today as it did back then?
Oh Lord. I do not have any, because immediately whenever you said that, I don't know why my mind automatically came to like death, because when you say enemies necessary, that's a sacrifice. Immediately what I thought of, but I like what Miss Willis said, so I'm gonna just ditto that with her, because my mind went completely left as soon as you asked the question. But I do like what she said, so I'm gonna just ditto off of that. That's safe for me right now.
and see, and one of the things that I want people to be mindful of is the time in which he said it and what was going on during those times in comparison to what is going on in today's day and time. And so, Rico, does it mean the same by any means necessary? Does it mean did it mean the same as he said it back then as it does today?
It's gonna mean the same forever, because when it comes to your existence, your survival, when it comes to protecting your children or providing for your family, trying to make sure that you, this being, this existence, gets its full potential and lives to its full righteous way of living. Yeah, by any means necessary, you got to make sure that happens. I mean, and to me, to a certain extent, it almost goes back to an eye for an eye. I love people, but if it comes down to me and you trying to harm me, I'm gonna make sure that I live by any means necessary. I'm gonna make sure that I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not a greedy person. That means like if we're working or we got a job and we both can make money off of it, and it's not gonna hurt my pockets, don't hurt yours, then I'm willing to share. But if we're in a situation where you trying to force me out, you trying to take me out the picture, you just trying to make more money, or just whatever it is, you're trying to hurt me, keep me from being able to survive. I got to do whatever I got to do by any means necessary to stop that with equal force or more. Maybe it's legally, maybe it's physically, maybe it's mentally, maybe it's strategically. But either way, I have to maneuver in a way by any means necessary to counter whatever it is that you're doing. If it's gonna oppress me, or handcuff me from doing what I need to do to survive in this life. So yeah, I think it means the same.
Okay. Cassandra, are you back with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Does it mean the same by any? Malcolm said by any means necessary. When he said it during that time, do you think it means the same? It has the same effect today?
I think so. I think if we go by what his meaning was, I think it means the same thing. And I think that, you know, when it comes to freedoms and justice, yeah, our attitude should be by any means necessary. We're going to have equality and we're going to have justice. That's just me.
Wow. Okay. Good deal. Good deal. Mr. Hicks. Mr. Hicks, you there?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay.
I was really pondering over that. I remember when he made that speech, and I remember the contrast and the environment that he was making it in. When he said that, he was actually going against his spiritual father, because the father said the nation which he came from said that there's a certain way to go, that we obey the laws of the land until it conflicted with our religion. We wasn't violent. So his call was a call out of anger, because any means necessary is what's implied to rule this world. There was no ethics. So even now, in terms of war, agreement to the Geneva Convention, doing this 9/11 thing, they grabbed people out of the field and did all the kind of madness they wanted, not just to foreigners, but to our own citizens and soldiers. So I believe any means necessary takes out that element of the Creator. The Creator put certain principles and rules in effect, and you got to do it. That else you become the same as your enemy. You become a bigger monster than him, just to defeat him. But that's my thought. I thought it was because at that point he thought the nation was behind the bombings and all the stuff that happened to him. He later realized that it was something bigger than that. So I think it was anger, and he was going against his teacher, because any means necessary was spark the violence of the gangs that developed. Yeah.
Okay, good deal. Good deal. No. You good, brother. You good. Curtis, what's on your heart? Kurt?
Yeah, I'm right here. What's on my heart in reference to what?
Curtis, you listening to us, man?
Yeah, I'm listening, but I mean, y'all just talked on about 4 or 5 different topics.
No,
into one topic, but I'm saying what specifically. What's on my heart.
We talking about Malcolm X when he said by any means necessary. Does it mean the same back then as it means today?
I think Malcolm was absolutely right, and I think they don't want you to believe by any means necessary, because it puts a certain level of fear in people, especially people who have an inability to see their own inadequacy and their own inconvenient truth. I think that by any time anytime it appears that you're telling Black folk, Latino folk, and Indian folk that to achieve by any means, there's this push to always make that seem like it's something, like it's wrong. Well, that push is because there's a fear that if we achieve what they did to us, we're going to do to them. The fear make you ignore the science. The science says that that's not even in our nature. That's not in our nature. And the people that have that in their nature, that's from us, if you notice, they work really hard to act like them. Because they don't know who they are. You know what I mean? Like, it's not in our nature to be a revengeful people. It's not in our nature to be critically violent. That's not really in our nature, man. Has never been. It was not in our nature till we was taught to be that way. We are a species of scientists, mathematicians, creatives. That's just what artists, visual. That's what's on the walls of Kemet. That's what history, true history, has shown us. It's not in our nature to be ignorant and to be self-absorbed and to be what we see today. Most of your greatest philosophers, greatest mathematicians, greatest scientists, all of your greats, if you really did a study on them, they stole from the Latino, the African American, and indigenous Indian diaspora. They stole from that.
30 seconds.
That's just what it is.
Okay.
That's just what it is.
Good deal. Good deal.
We can act like we don't know, but it is what it is.
Okay. Good deal. Let me play this right here.
We declare our right on this earth to be a man, to be a human being, to be respected as a human being, to be given the rights of a human being in this society, on this earth, in this day, which we intend to bring into existence by any means necessary.
Leonard, what's on your heart, brother? Leonard, we can't hear you. We can't hear you, brother. Your volume went out.
I think a lot of people have their opinions. And you know the imagery that was used. But everybody know Muslims do not practice violence. They just don't.
No.
I mean, that out of all the talk that Malcolm was saying and things of that, Malcolm would have never done anything violent to anyone other than for his own self-defense.
Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, Malcolm was criticized for saying those types of things as a Muslim. And so he would work people up, but soon after that speech was done, he'd calm people down and tell them no need for violence. Also, the picture
before you go, and this is very important right here, because I'm glad you went there, man. There are a lot of unknown similarities that people don't tie together between Malcolm and Martin in their nonviolent situation and how they do. Because you're absolutely right. If you don't do anything against him, he's not gonna do anything against you. He's gonna come in peace. He's gonna come in peace. So why don't people understand the similarities between the two?
Because they prefer not to. And when you set up on this whole thing of not really listening critically, you get caught up in emotion. People, you know, the biggest strategy that Malcolm used against Martin was Martin's nonviolence approach. Because he knew that a lot of people wanted violence.
Yes.
So it's easy to rile up and give a good speech by tempting those people. But as Elijah Muhammad would have taught, he surely taught him, this is not good. Elijah Muhammad would have never encouraged a war against white people. That never was the message. But for the media's sake, and even the famous picture with Malcolm with the gun, he wasn't defending himself from white folk. That wasn't the whole reason why he had the gun. Most Muslims are not going to carry guns.
No, don't carry guns at all.
That's what people don't understand. Martin was taking a picture because one, that had been threats against his life. And this is where you get, that's a whole nother story if you want to go into that, about the nation and the relationship with Malcolm post his separation from the nation, which didn't last long, by the way.
Yeah.
But right. But you know, people always make things what they want them. Any means necessary could be, guess what? You just might have to go get an education. You just might have to, you might just have to move. You might just have to go do something else to secure yourself, but you have a right to do that. And you should always fight for that right by any means necessary. See, Malcolm was like, if you got your fist raised, that you would assume that the other person was scared of you. And that was your defense. I'm ready to fight. But if you don't have to fight, why fight?
Exactly. Badger, what's on your heart?
Man, I'm kind of where Leonard is. Because it's to me, it's one of those situations of, if you're going to promote violence, you need to expect to receive it. And it's like there were so many things that were said and accusations and perceptions and things of that nature. I mean, there's some people even today that thinks that Malcolm X was a very violent human being because of the pictures and things like that through perception or the way he was perceived on certain medias or in history. So shoot, even when I was in school, I thought Malcolm X was a violent person and was teaching a violent message until I got older and did the research myself. So to me, this is one of those just mini examples of I had to educate myself or find someone that actually knew about it to learn a different perspective because of the one I was initially taught. So like, I mean, shoot, I remember in the 90s where Rebel Flag t-shirts literally said, "You wear your X, I wear mine." And that whole issue, depending on where you live. So like, it's the perspectives of from when I've grown up to now, learning more histories being put out to the public, more knowledge. So now it's seems to be a balance of what narrative is a person pushing. And then you have to weigh that narrative or that perception, and then sometimes you have to go and look even farther.
Good deal. 30 seconds.
So it's sometimes you have to look past what social media and things like that put out there and figure out what's really going on.
Good deal.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
I want to kind of go off what Badger just talking about because it does depend on where you get your information. I didn't know that Malcolm X wasn't violent until way into high school because you learn about the same three black people. Keeping it completely honest, you learn about the same three people every February, and if you have a good teacher, then maybe you'll learn about more because you'll do a Black History project. And then you'll learn, okay, all these white people that they said made this stuff did make this stuff. All these white people that had these songs that were the blues were taken from black people. That's where you learn that. If you learn it from there, but I think it's important of where you get your information from because I didn't know a lot of things. Because you only know what school teaches you if you don't have a community that will tell you this information, or if you find good books on the information, because there's also books where Malcolm X is a violent person as well. So you can read on it, but you may be getting the wrong sources. So I think it's important to keep older people around you, more seasoned people around you, because they're closer to that time and they lived closer to that time to tell you more accurate information, and then you can go based off that and get your own research. But I think it's important where you get your information from, because for the longest time I thought Malcolm X was violent and Martin Luther King was violent, but he was preaching about peace. That's what was taught to me.
Wow. Okay. Tori, you with a T. Folks been asking about you. Good morning. How you doing this morning?
Good morning. Good morning. How y'all doing?
Tori, you know I got to say it to you, right?
I'm early for tomorrow.
No, you're late. You're late for the day, but you're early for tomorrow. You're super early for tomorrow.
That's right.
But Tori, let me ask you this question. We're talking right now about Malcolm X, and he said, "By any means necessary." By any means necessary is what he said. Now, do you think that meant the same back then when he said it as it would today, or has the narrative changed?
No, it's strict by any means necessary. That means we got wiggle room. That means we're not gonna stop no matter what. And that thing still goes today. Now, do we honor that in that way? I think some. I think some of us. I think a lot of us is checked out. Just take the long way out. We don't want to fight. We don't want to argue, honey. We over it. We know how y'all gonna do, and we just gonna fall in line. You know, so we don't honor that, but that's still though. For people, I don't even think it's a black thing. You know what I'm saying? That's for people, because sometimes some things might come out of a specific situation. That specific situation can apply to all people, and that's what that means by any means necessary. Protect your family, protect your rights, protect your life. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it still exists, but we all just not honoring it like we used to. We're not focused on that right now.
Exactly. VP, talk to me, brother. VP, you there?
No, I'm listening. My phone is just going in and out too much.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I'll just get counted off.
Oh, okay. Good day. Rico, talk to me, brother.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, I can't really go back against what I said earlier. I mean, you know, I think it applies to today. I think, you know, it's just my mindset though. Some people are revolutionary. I'm more on the revolutionary side, you know, but I don't think it's just geared. It applies today. Yeah, I don't think it applies to just white people or racial thing. You know, I think that applies to life, period. You know, I used to do music, and I actually, when you mentioned that, I actually had sort of like that inspiration during a lyric that I had with a lyric that I wrote one time. And it was saying that if you live by the sword, you can die by it too. I hate to hurt my own kind, but between me and you, you got to choose you first. So like Linda said, even if it comes down to getting an education, you might be against the school system, but you might be against education. You might be against politics, but you got to go vote still.
Yeah.
By any means necessary, you got to get what it takes to get the goals accomplished for you to progress and achieve what it is you need to achieve. I mean, now if it means that you have to hurt an innocent person, then that's where we go back to standards. That's when we go back to being compassionate. That's when we start going back to being righteous and respectful of other people, treating people the way we want to be treated. But if somebody is trying to block you from walking into them school doors, you must kick them doors down by any means necessary.
Even
if it's people in your own community.
Yeah.
If it's family members, if it's somebody trying to hold you back by any means necessary, you got to get them handcuffs off of you and get up out of that situation. If you have the access to do it, the opportunity to do it. So, I mean, like I said, I think that term applies to any and every scenario where someone needs to get into a better situation. They must, by any means necessary, get to that place.
Leonard, read this here. This is on Paul.
Okay. Is it the one that starts with the rules?
Yes.
Okay. The rules and strategies of racists have changed, so the tactics to fight racism must change too.
Do you agree with that?
Oh, most definitely. You know, formerly I was the president of National Action Network, and that's one of the biggest things that I remember about that Sharpton insisted on. You got to be willing to be a better fighter. You have to go toe to toe with somebody trying to hurt you this way. And if it's an education, you go get that education. You know, go do what it is you need. Stand up for yourself. for what's right. It's not so much that they gotta love you. It wasn't about all that. It was about how you live.
Yeah.
And what you need to fight for. If it's unjust, just like Malcolm said towards the end, I'm with anybody fighting injustice.
Mm-hmm.
Whites, because remember before he had said some horrible things.
Mm-hmm.
But when he realized if we gonna win, every good, decent person need to be about the fight against injustice. That's how we gonna know who you are. And if you on our side, is if you fighting injustice. If you sitting around trying to make it acceptable or understand it or whatever, you not on my side.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna be on the side fighting against injustice. That was his whole point. Now, how can you separate yourself from that? You try. Separate yourself from that. If you don't want it, be brave enough to say you don't want it, and you think that black should be less than, and you think that everybody should live under white supremacy. Say that so we know who you are.
Mm-hmm. Identify yourself.
Thank you. Let me know what side you on, because I won't attack you and I won't fight you like an enemy if you don't act like an enemy.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. Now watch this. I'm gonna change the whole atmosphere. Watch this here. Cassandra.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna ask you a question, and I need to hear your whole heart, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What does love mean to you?
Right. Why do you ask me that?
I was just led to you, Cassandra. I was just led
That's
to
a Willa question. That's the Willa question. That's not a Cassandra question.
She said that's a Willa question.
Yeah, that's a Willa question. I don't know.
You pass?
Yeah, I pass.
Willa, what does love mean to you?
You know, that's real funny, Cassandra. Love to me means when someone shows me, not just by mouth. How people tell you they love you all the time, but their actions speak louder than words. And you know, it's quite a few people on this line that I can name. I mean, so many that have shown me love, and I've never seen their face. So it just reminds me of God. Yes. We love God because God is love. And we've never seen him, but it's the things that he's done for us in our lives that shows us what love is like. You know, there are some things that we can look at and say, nah, that ain't love, but you know what love, because it's not just a feeling. It's not just a feeling. Love is, man, it's such a connection. It's like, can I say it's like when that mother births you and you have that umbilical cord tied to the baby and then to you. That's what it kind of reminds me of. That kind of love, that attachment. Oh, I could just go on and on because I know when people love me. And I know when people are faking it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what love is to me, Raheem.
Good deal. Good deal. And on that note, Rico, what's going on at 3 o'clock today, sir?
If you missed today's broadcast or would like to see or hear the rebroadcast in its entirety, you can tune in at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on www.dkmmediagroup.com.
Good deal. Good deal. Uh-oh. Wind it up.
Come on, Raheem.
Wind it up.
Hey,
Wind it up. Hold on.
Wait, we missing some stuff.
What stuff we missing?
If you would like to support the broadcast,
go ahead,
you
Mary.
can take yourself and you can go to PayPal or Cash App and you can search DKM Radio. That's DKM RADIO. That is DKM RADIO on PayPal or Cash App. you would like to support the broadcast. And if you would like a great read, go ahead and get yourself a copy of Untrust by Raheem Ashame. Dad, where can he find it at?
They can find it by contacting me at let me see what's email, DKM Media Group 1 at gmail.com. Send me your information and I'll make sure we take care of that. DKM Media Group 1, number 1, just the number 1 at gmail.com.
Oh!
You asked what love is, right?
Say it again.
You asked what love is, right?
Yes, sir.
How Jesus lived.
Come on now. Come on now. Look here. When that, hold on. Hey, Rico, I'm about to stir it back up, man. I'm about to stir it back up. Willa!
Come on, Raheem. Come on.
Oh, I got to say it one more time. Willa!
Raheem!
Are you ready?
Raheem, I am so ready.
You sure you ready?
I am so ready.
Willa?
I'm ready, Raheem.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go to the throne of grace this morning with boldness, confidence, and expectation. Father, we thank you so much for allowing us to get up together, Lord. Father, we thank you for this union, Lord. Father, you even prayed that your disciples will be on one accord. And Father, I believe that happened today, Lord. Father, we thank you for that. Father, we thank you for not having us ignorant when it comes to this spiritual world. Father, we love and honor you this morning. Father, I'm asking you, oh Lord, that there are people out there that need you, Lord. Show up in their lives, Lord. Father, I'm asking you, Lord, to show up in their lives. Father, show them that it's only you and nobody else that can make it happen in their lives. Father, I'm asking you to touch each and every last one that's on this line. Allow the Holy Spirit to lead them, guide them, show them the way, and line them up with your will. Father, thank you for Raheem and his family, Lord. Keep them protected. Keep this show successful. Father, I know that you will supply every need. You said it in your word. And I already believe that it's done. It's already said. In Jesus' name, amen, amen, amen.
Amen. Amen. Leonard, anything on your heart, brother?
No, just that. Make sure that, people are always aware, stay educated for these elections.
Mm-hmm.
I always encourage people, engage the people running for office. Ask them the questions that you want to know.
Go ahead, Leonard. Go ahead.
That was it.
Okay. Curtis, you there?
Yeah, what up, man? Yeah, I'm right here, man.
Y'all had elections in Maryland. I think yesterday, day before yesterday. How did it turn out?
No, we had elections yesterday. It turned out pretty good. The R's, the red done look like they put this candidate up here that man, this guy is something else. But the D's, I think they're sending a.
Raheem tested it, look, and I froze up, Leonard. Look at.
Yeah, I just happened to look.
Be out of here.
He ain't moving at all.
He got to pay. He got to charge himself a little extra money today, ain't
That's right. He owe all of us this day. I thought it was my computer.
Look,
we
got to hold it down for him.
I thought it was my computer, so I just looked over until I looked up and seen he ain't even moving.
Yeah, it's a wrap, man. Yeah, he owes us on this. We gotta wait till he come back now and go ahead and put that tax on him. He paying overtime to 3 people today.
Right. But if you guys don't have nothing else, I think it was a pretty good show today. And that one, everybody, did make a good contribution. That love thing is amazing. So I'm pretty sure he might be trying to do another show about it after this.
Oh yeah. When I heard that question, the first thing that popped in my mind is how Jesus lived.
Right. And you know, that was so amazing to me that you said that.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, that was good. That was a deep question too, man. That's one that really and truly you just can't come right off the top of the head, and you have to sit back and ponder that one for a second, you know, because
well, I mean, to me, the way Jesus lived is what I do my best to preach every day. Be responsible for yourself and to others.
Because I don't care who you call him or what, that lesson that he teaches, which is what we call the gospel, is far better than many of the things I've ever heard in my life.
And those teachings I have found in Native American teachings that's been passed down to me. I have found it in Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism. I have found it in most religions around the world, or beliefs, depending on terminology a group wants to use.
Right.
Like
So,
it's centered around the golden
there you
rule.
go. There you go. That joke could go right there.
Now, I just need to ask y'all a question. I heard y'all in the background. I tuned in while y'all said who I send a check to.
You gotta write 3 different checks.
Me.
Yeah,
Cash
can't
me.
do cash out, man.
Well, I don't have Cash App, so send mine to Leonard.
I'm like, Lord, hey, he had to pay 3 people. I said, oh Lord, them jokers, they getting on me right now. But man, I made it
right
all
in the middle of your speech.
Yeah, I made it right to the finish line. Lord, my
We're gonna let you do it again.
Yeah, you can. Let me do it one more time. It is now 10:08. I want to thank everybody for joining us, and more than that, I want to thank you for allowing DK Media Group and Associates and the Morning Glow for being a part of your day. It is now 10:08. You're about to exit the Morning Glow, but before you go, I want you to do me 2 favors, if you will. One, I want you to continue to pray for us because we're certainly praying for each and every one of you. Number 2, why this is real simple. I want you to go out there. Find somebody and give them a hug because you never know. It could be the only hug that they get, or it could very well be their last. Love you, and ain't nothing you can do about it. Have a great day and a better tomorrow. And then we shine some of this light of you from the Morning Glow. Take it out there into this wicked and cruel world that we live in and let your light so shine. If you get an opportunity, give somebody some love. You just might find some love in return. Won't that be a beautiful thing? Have a great day. Take care of each other, and please, please, please be blessed. See you tomorrow. God say the same. Have a great day. Love you.